This week, an operation was conducted by Gardaí from Milford, assisted by the Armed Support Unit, the Garda Dog Unit and other divisional units. A firearm, a number of rounds of ammunition and a stolen motorcycle were recovered following a search of a house and lands in Kilmacrennan on Tuesday. A man in his 40s was arrested, charged and was expected to appear before Letterkenny District Court this week. Donegal County Council is to put a proposed variation to the county development plan out to public consultation. The variation will incorporate landslide susceptibility evidence gathered in the wake of the recent Meanbog landslide. It will also ban wind farm developments in freshwater Perrin Mussel catchment areas around Glenbeigh National Park, the Guibara River Basin, St John's Point and other areas of scenic amenity. Councillor Gary Doherty proposed the consultation go ahead. He says it's time people had their say.
That those areas that are susceptible to landslides will now be ruled as not permissible for wind farm development, and I think that's a positive development, and I would hope that the public can get behind that amendment and the variation to the development plan, and we'll see that finally passed in a couple of months. And then there's also other amendments that were tabled for other areas in the county, which we have seen that locals and residents in the area simply don't want wind farm developments in those areas, so hopefully now that will pass the public consultation phase.
The HSE chief says continued reform of the health service will help cut waiting lists. Latest figures show there are 1.3 million people on waiting lists. Paul Reid insists a move to community care and access to diagnostics like scans and x-rays outside of the hospital setting, along with other changes, will mean shorter waiting times.
It does now utilise more private capacity than we ever had, more NTPF capacity than we ever had, but more importantly, really reforming how we tackle our waiting lists. So doing things very differently, focusing on the top 15 specialists that account for 92% of the waiting list. Not always having to see a consultant to come off the waiting list, but advanced nurse practitioners, very new clinical pathways we want to redesign. So it is about transforming and changing in the middle of the very severe impact.
Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle says we must continue to strengthen Ireland's military neutrality and ensure that it is not compromised. Yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the Oireachtas, thanking Ireland for not staying neutral to his country's fight. Deputy Pringle in the Dáil says the response here has rightly been victim-focused, but says it's important to maintain that going forward.
I know the Commission, in conjunction with the European Defence Agency, intends to look at defensive investment gaps and introduce initiatives to strengthen the European defence industrial and technology base next month. I think we need to tread very carefully here. We need to ensure that our neutrality is not being compromised when such discussions take place.
Weather now blustery this morning with scattered showers. The showers will, however, gradually ease by afternoon, with highest temperatures today of 7 to 9 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Good morning, 4 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 7th of April. How are you doing? How are you? Very welcome along to the programme. Coming up later on, we have a conversation about afterlife. There's a new book out. We'll be talking to its author and talking all things in that regard. Keeley's going to be here answering your relationship questions. If you want to get them into us right now, you can do so. We can make sure we get to them. We're going to be hearing calls for a carer. We're going to hear about someone who's losing their business and so much more besides. Get involved in the conversation, please. Call Caroline if you wish on 07491 25000, 07491 25000, or WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000 and have your input, have your say. Even if you've never texted a radio show before, why not make your views known today. More than happy to hear them and air them. If you choose, you can watch the show. Go on to our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see the link there. You can watch in browser. Or if you prefer, go straight to our websites, our social media, Twitter, Highland Radio, YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or we have 2 Facebook pages. Just search Highland and you'll stumble across one of them. Let's look at the papers this morning, starting with the Tyrconnell Tribune. John McAteer writes that following the weekend meeting between the Micah Action Group and the Taoiseach in Burt, campaigners said that in what had been the most important meeting ever for the homeowners, it was unacceptable the executive members of Donegal County Council were not present in, and this matter needs urgent clarification. At the meeting in the Green and Analia Hotel, Micheál Martin was presented with data from a list of 350 houses waiting for the go-ahead for remedial action, with only 10 of those having got to the stage of works being cleared. And you'll be able to read much more on the front of and inside of that paper on that story and many others, of course. The Donegal Democrat tells us that up to €1.2 million has been lost to the Keeley fishing industry this week, it's been claimed, and this could rise to a projected $50 million loss this season if a controversy concerning landing fish locally is not resolved. That's the opinion of 2 of the port's fishing organisations, the Irish Fishing and Seafood Alliance and the Keeley Fishermen's Organisation, following a decision by the Sea Fishing Protection Authority to refuse to allow a Danish vessel to land a catch of blue whiting intended for human consumption at a local processing factory, something the SFPA disputes. And now we have this strange situation, particularly with the Greens in government, is that we've had one boat, and maybe it will be the pattern going forward, landing the blue whiting in its water in Derry using similar equipment seemingly, and being then transported by lorry to Keeley for processing. I mean, that is an unnecessarily large environmental footprint, isn't it? It was talked about in the Dáil yesterday, of course, something akin to Father Ted. I think it was Deputy McLaughlin referenced it as, and as we said, we've put on our inquiries into the Marine Minister, but he, I think, my understanding is that he does not want to, it wouldn't be appropriate for him to interfere in the operation of the SFPA. I read through the script, the press release coming from the SFPA. I didn't really get exactly what they were saying, and it's something I'm going to chase up so I don't understand. But they seem to suggest that the Danish skipper, or the skipper of the Danish vessel, refused the weighing options at Keeley but or not, I don't think it was the Danish vessel, but anyway, one of them refused the weighing options that was made available to him at Keeley but went to Derry and used similar equipment there. Now, I don't understand the ins and outs of that because it's not made very clear in the SFPA press release, so it is something that I will be looking to follow up on, just for my own understanding, but for all of us presumably as well. The Donegal News, a Donegal man living with motor neuron disease has received a personal congratulations from Taoiseach Micheál Martin for conquering Errigal. Stephen Ann O'Donnell from Ranafastra, accompanied by his son Gavin and other family and friends, summited the county's biggest peak on Saturday. He was among hundreds of Donegal people who scaled peaks from Inishowen to Glencolmkill as part of the Climb with Charlie fundraising initiative launched by the former RTE newsman Charlie Bird, who is also suffering from MND. The Derry News now talks of a huge increase in numbers using the Fall Food Bank. We've seen this in the Republic as well, of course. Almost 16,000 people used the Fall Food Bank in Derry last year. It's emerged. Those using the food bank increased by 230%, from 6,805 individuals to 15,735. During that time, the food bank distributed over 96,000 tonnes of food, which equates to 230,000 individual meals. Dennis McGowan, the chair of the food bank, said the facility was only able to meet this huge demand through the selfless efforts of its volunteer workforce and by the continued generous support of its patrons and donors, without which the food bank could not continue to operate. The Farmers Journal tells us that farmers may need a licence to keep cattle. What do you think about this? If you are one of those that could be affected by it, environmental permits may be required by some cattle and dairy farmers in the future in order for them to keep livestock, under a radical new proposal from the European Commission. The rules would apply to dairy farmers with over 100 cows and suckler farmers with over 80 cows when young stocks are included. Pig farms with over 300 sows and poultry units with over 11,000 layers are also in the firing line. Furthermore, it's proposed that the permits will be made publicly available free of charge. In administration alone, the permit system is expected to cost EU farmers $265 million per year. The Minister for Agriculture, Charlie McConalogue, has slammed the proposals. He told the Irish Farmers Journal they do not appear to be based on the reality of Irish livestock farming, which is incredibly sustainable. The Irish Independent tells us that whilst we have flung the doors of the country open to those fleeing the invasion of Ukraine, we are pretty much at max now in terms of our capacity to house people. There's talk of tented villages, there's talks of using warehouses. We are almost at the limit of available beds. But the state's capacity to house Ukrainian refugees is nearing exhaustion, with a shortage of beds anticipated by the end of this week. As many as 10,000 people having no accommodation at all by the end of the month. The Cabinet has been secretly warned. Ministers were told on Tuesday that with an average of 580 refugees arriving per day, around 5,000 additional beds will be needed by Easter to meet demand. This will be on top of those already identified across hotels, B&Bs, guest houses, state facilities, and from people who have pledged vacant homes and rooms. Again, I'm just curious because we were contacted by a number of individuals who did offer property, but it wasn't followed up, or have property available in more rural areas and aren't hearing anything back. Are they being considered? Have you been affected by that? You don't have to necessarily speak publicly, but I mean, did you offer a property in a rural area, or part of your property in the rural area? Was that offer taken up? Was it chased up? Or are they talking about just in towns? Because there's a lot of goodwill out there which could be falling because of a lack of contact interaction and understanding. If you have a property available, can you just offer it? Do you get paid for it? You know, these are basic questions which I think if they were answered, more people might see what options they have available to them. Well, the Cabinet was told the capacity for the state to accommodate refugees is now nearing exhaustion, and that the continued trajectory of arrivals gives rise to the high risk of an acute lack of short-term including emergency accommodation, with up to 19,000 people seeking a place to stay. So these aren't houses per se. These are, a lot of it is hotel rooms, B&Bs and what have you. One of the proposals is facilities such as the Mill Street Arena in County Cork, which beds for 400 people, and the Army Barracks at Gormanston in County Meath, where tents are being erected with room for 320. And separately, the Irish Refugee Council has said unoccupied holiday homes should be prioritised ahead of shared homes for accommodating refugees, and called on the government to look at long-term solutions. It's well documented at this point that the Ukrainian president addressed the joint houses of the Oireachtas. I was wondering how he would, as he has, reference the Irish situation and sort of put it into context to help us understand the Ukrainian situation. Obviously, there is quite a lot in common there, but he avoided referencing Northern Ireland as much as I could determine. Obviously, he doesn't want us to upset Britain, but there is... but he did, of course, talk about how the Russians were using hunger as a reference, and I presume that was a reference to the famine. But as I say, he didn't go down the line that he has in other countries of referencing more recent sort of aggro with your neighbours, let's put it like that. But he said Ireland is a neutral country, but has not remained neutral to the disaster and to the mishap that Russia has brought to Ukraine. That is Volodymyr Zelensky's words. In an address via video link to a joint sitting of the Houses of the Oireachtas yesterday, he thanked Ireland for the humanitarian and financial support it has provided his country. However, he called on Ireland to show more leadership in our anti-war coalition and to convince EU partners to introduce more rigid sanctions against Russia that would really make sure that the Russians' war machine would stop. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and Health Minister Stephen Donnelly, we're told, was not informed that Chief Medical Officer Dr Tony Holohan was to take up a second, it's called a secondment, funded by his department until 2 days ago. And I thought secondment was a temporary arrangement, but Dr Tony Holohan has left Health permanently and is now permanently until such time as he decides to do something else with Trinity. But senior government sources confirmed to the Mail last night that Mr. Donnelly believed that Dr. Tony Holohan was in fact retiring from the public service and taking up the prestigious Trinity College academic role on a full-time basis. Crucially, he was not informed until this week that Dr. Holohan's salary would be paid for by the Department of Health rather than Trinity College. Now, in his interview yesterday morning, Stephen Donnelly obviously had got over this very quickly because he thought it was a fantastic idea. He thought it was a great for the country. He thought it's something that we should all be really delighted about, that effectively the Department of Health will be paying for 2 CMOs, even though one of those CMOs will be full-time working for Trinity on the same income and benefits as he was for the Department of Health. And Stephen Donnelly argued, even though we only found out about it a couple of days ago, that this was fantastic news. But still, we don't know whose decision this was, who signed off on it. No one will tell us. When asked whose decision it was to allow Dr. Tony Holohan to take up a secondment, those government sources said that the decision was made by the department, in inverted commas, which is interpreted as meaning civil servants. Again, are these civil servants truly, really, with every term we see, the ones running this country? It seems to be the case. We always knew that, but now we're seeing it. The curtain is being pulled back and we're seeing it for ourselves. The Irish Daily Star tells us that an Irishman described as a lovely man died suddenly amid dental treatment in Turkey. Tony Rogers was just 66. He flew to Istanbul for an emergency procedure on Monday and then died after he received an anaesthetic in the dentist's chair the next morning. The popular businessman was the owner of one of the biggest taxi companies, Tony's Cabs, in Drogheda. He travelled over to Turkey on his own to get implants in. His tragic death has caused great shock and sadness in his hometown, where he was a popular figure. The Turkish authorities are now expected to hold a full-scale inquiry into how he died. Officials will also conduct a post-mortem. Mr. Rogers' family and friends were last night desperately trying to find out what exactly happened to him. He wasn't known to have any underlying health conditions. So is that worthy of a note of caution, I wonder, for anyone availing of such systems, although it seems quite rare, because that's the first time I've heard about it anyway happening. The Irish Sun this morning: a man believed by police to be key to cracking the Michaela McCreevy murder may be ruled unfit for questioning. Dasen Narayanan was arrested 9 days ago in Mauritius after the case was reopened. Police suspect he may have crucial information about the horrific killing of the County Tyrone woman, but the 37-year-old larceny suspect, who suffers mental health issues, has been taken to hospital twice since he was brought in. He was due to apply for bail yesterday, but the motion has been postponed for 2 days as his health is assessed by state and defence medics. You just get the feeling that that line of inquiry over there is going nowhere. And are you a fan of Wordle? It's hugely popular. Lots of people play it. I play it myself daily. I don't publicise how I do. You know, lots of people share it, particularly on Twitter, not so much on Facebook. But a lot of people play Wordle. The one thing I don't like about Wordle is when people can't help but, once they've solved it, giving you little clues. Because that throws me off. And what's the point? Why give little clues? The whole idea is that it's a personal challenge. But anyway, it's a game. You search Wordle. It's blocks of 5 letters. You make a guess as to a 5-lettered word. If the letter is in the word but not in the right place, it's orange. If it's in there, it's green. If it's not in there, it's grey. And you've got 5 chances to find the word. Well, Ireland is the leading Wordle playing country in the world. 13% of the population Googling the game every month, it emerged yesterday. The UK finished in second place, recording 6.3 million searches for the web-based word game every 4-week period, equivalent to 9.4% of the population. But clearly, obviously, this is the same people not bookmarking it and just searching it every day to play. But anyway, America had the most searches for Wordle overall, with 19 million searches every month, accounting for 55% of total searches. Online gaming platform Solitaire analysed which country is playing Wordle the most based on the number of Google searches every month. They calculated the number of searches as a percentage of each country's population to find the most Wordle-obsessed country on the planet. And we, the Irish, are. It's some fella invented it, and I think it was something to do with his wife, or in honour of her or for her, and then the New York Times bought it up. They saw the popularity of it and how it would drive traffic to their website. And still it remains free. OK, that was a run through what's making the front of and inside of the newspapers. Any comments? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call The number there, 07491 25000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
With Donegal's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles, at iMotors we are confident we have your next car. All of our cars come with a 12-month warranty. Come visit our showrooms in Letterkenny or Malin. We have also now extended our opening hours on Saturdays at our Letterkenny showroom from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Better value lives at Dunnes Stores with big savings on your favourite brands. Enjoy 20% off bottles of wine and champagne 750ml range. And pick up some half-price Pringles, now just €1.49 across the 165-gram range. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more, which means every trip to Dunnes Stores means better value. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on ex-grocery shop of €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Ireland is leaving diesel behind, and Kelly's Toyota is leading the way with our incredible range of self-charging hybrid electric cars. We've amazing offers, including contributions and trade-in boosters. And with 46 years of experience here in Donegal, you can trust us to help you on your electric journey. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota, Ireland's best-selling car brand. Visit Kelly's Toyota Mount Charles or Letterkenny today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Donegal and Tyrone clash this Friday evening for a place in the Ulster Under-20 Football Championship Final. Join myself, Oisín Kelly and Martin McHugh in Celtic Park and Derry with live match commentary on our website on highlandradio.com from the 8 p.m. throw-in. In association with the Old Orchard Inn, High Road, Letterkenny, who have launched their brand new menu under Chef David Tullio. You can also relax in the all-new Theo's Cocktail Bar and Terrace. See the Orchard Inn, Letterkenny on Facebook for more.
Get the Irish Daily Star today for your free Aintree pullout. With all the top tipsters in our stable, ready to get you first past the post all week at the Grand National Festival. The Irish Daily Star, #1 for racing, #1 for you.
Okay, so as you heard in one of the stories in the papers there, and we covered this yesterday as well, that Dr. Tony Holohan, well known as the Chief Medical Officer, Stephen Donnelly believes he was set to retire, to go on and do something else. Instead, he's going to move over to Trinity. Now, I think it would be normal that he would leave one job, be employed in another. But as it turns out, the Department of Health has agreed to pay his salary at Trinity. Now, both are publicly funded, so you could say it's the money's coming from the same pot, but nonetheless, it seems somewhat strange. Right, Deputy Mark McSharry joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you.
Right, so I'm a little bit confused because Stephen Donnelly was told earlier this week, apparently, that this was happening. He doesn't know who made the decision. That being said, he knew enough about it to come out yesterday morning and make a very strong defence of the decision. He really effectively was saying that we should be happy, we should be delighted. This is a win for the public. Do you share his view on it all?
No, I don't. And he came out yesterday on Morning Ireland, the RTE programme, yesterday morning, and it was his performance on that made me raised with the Taoiseach yesterday and the Dáil. Frankly, I found his contribution yesterday to be evasive, patronising, and frankly embarrassing. And I think anybody who heard it would feel the same. He was using terminology which, frankly, was just incredible. He said, and I'm quoting, Tony wanted a new challenge, end quote. And, this is great news because he's staying in the public sector. Now, that's just not the case, okay? And if the New Atlantic Technological University are going to have professors or lecturers or staff, then they'll pay for those out of their own budget. It won't be out of a hard-pressed Department of Health, who so far are, with the Department of Public Expenditure, reneging on the €1,000 that very hard-working nurses and midwives were promised in January.
That's the one thing I couldn't understand in his argument he was making yesterday. Clearly, Trinity has a budget, right? and it should operate with proper management within that budget. And if it feels the need to take on someone like Dr. Tony Holohan, well, then it has to, I don't know, find some other way to raise that income, or, you know, maybe it can let other people go. I don't know. I wouldn't be endorsing that. Don't get me wrong. You don't simply take another €190,000 plus whatever other perks there is there out of the health budget as if it is some sort of a bottomless pit to say thank you to people for their service.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And this is the situation here. So what I said in the Dáil yesterday in raising this with the Taoiseach is that there is a crisis in public confidence in the processes for public appointments and remuneration in the higher echelons in our civil service. I mean, we know there's a pawn issue that we had last year in terms of a role being manufactured and created for her by her former cabinet colleagues. We've had the Secretary General of the Department of Foreign Affairs been appointed to the prestigious role as Ambassador to France, Irish Ambassador to France. The Secretary General of the Department of Teaching been appointed to the Ambassador of the UK. We have yesterday the new Secretary General of the Department of Teaching being rubber stamped by Cabinet, and now we have this. Back to Trinity's funding for a second. They are in receipt, certainly, as all educational institutions in our country are in receipt of public funds for certain aspects of the service and work that they carry out. But they're also the biggest recipient of private funding. So the other thing Minister Donnelly said yesterday on our national airwaves was he himself didn't sign off on it, but he was aware of it 2 weeks ago. The day before, we had the Taoiseach saying he wasn't aware of it at all. And what we're talking about here is $187,000 per year of taxpayers' money for an open-ended secondment, which in effect is a multi-million euro secondment that our cabinet, the executive of the country, were not even aware of.
But if they're not aware of this, and if knowing that this was causing such controversy that they couldn't actually find out a person to say that person made that decision, to talk about the health service as if it is a thinking individual entity or something like that, there, what other appointments have happened? What kind of money is out there going to other people? We heard about this one. Could it be the only one? I mean, what else is going on in the department and its relationship with other organisations?
Again, first thing yesterday morning, I put a parliamentary question in asking that very question across all 15 government departments, which is, so tell us, who have you got seconded? And I'm not talking about people who are seconded from the Department of Finance, the Department of Health, or vice versa, which are reasonable, but I'm talking secondments to a semi-private entity. I mean, the reality is this decision was taken by the Secretary General, Robert Watt, unilaterally, as so many others are. And government, the Cabinet, as I said in the Dáil yesterday, have knowingly reduced themselves and accepted a position where they're little more than a non-executive group who rubber stamp the decisions and will of the senior echelons of the civil service, and that is not democracy.
Also, I understand you using the word secondment because that's the word out there and it explains really what would... But the truth is, a secondment is a temporary transfer. Someone might be seconded for 2 or 3 years. This is a move that could be for 20 years. He has moved permanently to Trinity as far as I can determine. So that means the health service, the HSE, we will, through the HSE, pay multiples of many millions of euro to cover his tenure at Trinity. It's not like he's going there for a year or two to give us some sort of a head start on the next pandemic or whatever it might be, however his position is being described. This is a permanent move. This is a permanent arrangement that the health service has made, running into millions of euro. And no one can tell us who made the decision. No one is responsible for millions of euro of taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you who made the decision, Robert Watt. But I'm telling you that's unacceptable. It should be the Cabinet. That's who is responsible in this country. But they are welching on the responsibility from issue to issue. And because some of us have escalated this issue a little bit, we see some other ministers, I see Michael McGrath saying, questions have to be answered. Heather Humphreys incredibly said yesterday, well, it's great that he's still in the public sector, and where the salary is paid from doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's just inconceivable. I mean, when I heard Minister Donnelly on Morning Ireland yesterday say, Tony wanted a new challenge. I mean, we're not talking about the Premier League player here wanting to change clubs. You know, this is taxpayers' money.
There is also a fact out there too that obviously, the Minister Stephen Donnelly holds Tony Holohan in very high regard. That's not a universal opinion, and I'm not stating an opinion myself here. I'm just stating that it's not a universal opinion that he should be rewarded with this transfer.
You know,
in the public eye.
We're not in the business of rewarding people. You know, I mean, if somebody wants to change job, they change job. And that employer pays that salary. It's as simple as that. It's not about his expertise for the role. It's not about a pat on the back for his performance in COVID or cervical check and those various other scandals. I might have a view on that. Others have a different view. This is about proper processes and procedures, good governance. You know, this is Banana Republic.
Should that position, or do we know if that position was advertised? Was it created for Dr. Tony Holohan? Are there not rules and regulations that state a position, if it's available, should be opened up? I mean, because the presumption is and also this is the argument we've heard in the past as to why we have to pay RTE stars such high money, is that if we don't pay them, they'll be snapped up, which we've not seen really at all. But they'd be snapped up, and we have to bring out the big money to keep them. That's 2 points I'm making here. But the first point I'll ask: do we know if this position was created for Dr. Tony Holohan? Do we know, should it have been publicly advertised?
I'm not aware of that. I will venture that it was created for him. I'm not questioning the person's expertise, but I would say it's more of an honorary post than somebody who's going to be in lecturing 25 hours a week. But all of the above doesn't bother me, you know, to the extent that off you go, Tony, if you want to be a professor. But Trinity pay you. You know, a civil servant within a department doesn't decide, here, listen, you know, I owe you this. You're a good man. I like you. You're talented. And you deserve it. Here's a couple of million of taxpayers' money to let you put the feet up down in Trinity.
Do you think if this rumbles on for another couple of days, even maybe a week, that we'll get a statement from Tony Holohan stating that he's made the decision not to accept this role for fear of, you know, the negative light it might be casting on the government and Trinity? Do you see that in the future?
I don't, unfortunately. I very much hope that we do. Or that we hear from Trinity that they're going to pay the bill on this. Sadly, the form of governments, the current one and previous ones, is that we'll probably get a statement in the next week saying it could have been handled better. But on we go. And sadly in Ireland, and in politics in Ireland, not thankfully in local radio and certainly not Highland, you know, dissent, critical thinking and analysis is treated with contempt, disdain, and disgust by the mainstream media, and certainly the Taoiseach and the government, and that's the sad deterioration in our democracy, in my view.
It's worth noting as well that in the 2-3 years of the pandemic, despite many requests and a few controversies. People remember the dogs in the streets comments. Unfortunately, Dr. Tony Holohan never made himself available to us here. I'm not sure if he did to any local or regional radio stations, but anyway, be that as it may, no sour grapes for me, by the way. Deputy Mark McSharry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, take care. Thank you very much indeed. Tony, and it's not the man we're talking about, it's a different Tony. Tony, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
You're not surprised by this controversy?
Not really, no. I mean, we've had all kinds of things happening in this country since maybe the foundation of the state, which is, well, 100 years ago. But and years that going back that I remember, like since tribunals started up way back, would have been the first one I remember would have been probably the McBrearty, the big one, like McBrearty.
The Morris Tribunal.
The Morris Tribunal.
No, that's all right. Just so everyone knows the one you're on about, yeah.
And other one since that, the Garda whistleblower, you know, that's a couple of years ago there. and there were millions upon millions spent on legal fees, the government, defending these.
And coming up with findings and recommendations.
And nobody was held accountable for any. I think the only person I remember, as far as I know, came up there in our programme lately was.
Yep. Well, if you're not 100% sure of the name, we'll just avoid the name if that's all right.
He actually went to prison. It was Ray Burke.
Okay, yeah, right. I catch you.
He like at the time, but I mean, there was millions upon millions spent, and nobody's actually been held responsible. That's the. I remember Frank.
But it's the same too. But it's the same too. It's the inquiry into controversies in residential places, awful things that happen, inquiries not being fully released. Who's going to be held responsible? No one's going to be held responsible. That's what the public feel, and they're justified in that because they can see and hear with their own ears and eyes.
Yeah, I think the Mother and Baby Home Tribunal report was done there a couple of years ago, and as far as I remember, it was very disappointing too for people that went through the mill. The full facts weren't actually published. A lot of the facts weren't published, even though they give evidence. That it wasn't put into the report for some reason. But anyway, Greg, on a smaller note, I live here on the. Just something maybe not as on the Donegal Road in Ballybuffet. Iron McCarran, it's an old housing estate that you probably would know it going past.
Yep.
And there's a problem here this last couple of years. If you don't mind, I'll mention it to you now.
So while you're on, you might as well.
Right. Well, these houses were built 70 years ago. Council houses, they were bought, and my parents would have been one of the first people moved in here, way back in 1953. There's a lane on each end of the estate that takes you down to the back of the houses. The back lanes, we would call them, which service the back yards, the back gardens, and all that. Now, there's one on the left-hand side and one on the right-hand side. The one on the right-hand side, that was tarred there last year. That's on the Gallagher, Gallagher's garage, lane down there. It was tarred there last year. Beautiful job because it was deemed as a council lane. Now, my entrance would be on the lower end, down at the other garage, Barnes View, and it takes you down to the back of the houses as well. And it's not a council lane for some reason or something that I can't understand. I've been living here all my life. But they've been out and looked at it, and I've written to the council about it. I'm the chairman of the Residents Association here. There's a man in a wheelchair that lives on this lane, and that's the only way he can't use his front entrance because the door, there's
steps and what have you. It's the wheelchair's access is to the rear, I take it.
And the lane is in a bad state with potholes.
Mm-hmm.
The wife, she takes him out on the back of her vehicle, on a wheelchair, as a wheelchair facilitated. And he's hopping about. If he's in the back of the vehicle, he's going about right to left, shaking all over the place. The council know about this as well. It's been pointed out to them.
Yeah.
Yet no, we got a letter there saying that that's through a representation of a local councillor. This lane may not be tarred this year, but in future years. Now, both lanes were done 70 years ago. The council would have used them, and people up until this day still use them onto the back of the houses, with park their vehicles and whatnot. One was tarred last year. That's the one that I'm talking about hasn't been tarred and has not been planned to be tarred for, as far as I can see. Whenever they decide, it could be next year, maybe the year after, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you don't know. Even if they say it's not going to be this year, it could be next. We could be next year, and then it could be the next year.
Well, that's what they're saying.
So, is this a loop? Is it a loop that we're talking about, Tony?
How do you mean?
A loop, like you sort of. So I could go in at Gallagher's garage and drive past the back of the houses, and then out the other side.
No, you can't. No, they're
right.
Okay.
Separate. Yeah, so they're two separate lanes. Okay, I get you.
If you're on the road, sometimes.
That's why I'm asking you, but I might have to reverse into your lane to try and get back out again.
You get turned. There's driveway into the back of all the.
Okay. Well, listen.
If you're down sometime, if you want to meet me, I can, and you can have a look at it.
All right. No, it's not. It doesn't on the face of it make any sense. I'll be interested to see the layout of it. And maybe we'll return to it again then, Tony.
Because I've been on to the council and other people have been on, and they cannot understand for the life of me why one lane is a council lane and the other lane is not a council, and the other one is not. A typical Irish answer to an Irish problem. So. I don't know.
Okay, well, leave it with us. Listen, no harm to get two topics for the price of one. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Very much,
all right, take care of yourself. Good man. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. A caller says, an Irish government minister who's completely incompetent. How unusual. They're a bit cynical there on that one. Probably justified, some would say, of course. In relation to the new roadworks in Letterkenny from the Polestar roundabout to the Dry Arch roundabout, says a listener, has any provision been made to cross the road from the hotel to the shop for pedestrians? I've often seen people trying to cross that 4-lane traffic, which is just a crash waiting to happen. When you say provision, you mean it as part of the new plans? Because I think there is going to be. Is there still anyway? There was at one point going to be a set of traffic lights there. There was talk of a walkover bridge. Are you on about now, though? What's happening at the moment now? It might be safer to pass now across that road than it were before the roadworks start. I'm not 100% sure, but if anyone has an insight, and if you could just clarify, you're talking about a crossing there once the works is completed, or are you talking about a crossing there whilst the work is ongoing? A caller says, just as you're talking about Wordle in at this minute doing Quordle, and there's Octurdle, 2 8 words, and Wordle 2 with 6 letters, brain training. It's good for the brain, but 5, it's the original, and then there's Musically or Musicaldle or some music version of Wordle, whereby you hear a couple of notes of a song, it's how quick you can get it, and then there's one to do with locations in the world. I can't remember what that's called either. I was sticking to Wordle on its own because I don't have the brain capacity to go to 8 letters. Do you still only get 5 guesses though? That sounds a bit mean. Right, okay, we're going to be talking about business in Keeley after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Break free from the same old. Join a community where people can grow and be at their best. Join ZincWorks and develop software for the biggest companies in the world, working with 5G and financial services. We value learning. We want you to be a better engineer every day you work with us. We value teamwork. We want you to learn from your peers and help your peers learn. We're hiring now for our new offices based in Letterkenny. See zincworks.com/careers.
Bluebird Care are looking for you. Bluebird Care are currently seeking carers and nurses to join their ever-expanding team. Immediate starts for carers in all parts of the county, especially Letterkenny, Inishowen and Donegal town. Bluebird Care are also looking for registered general nurses for day and nighttime 12-hour shifts. Contact Bluebird Care on 07491 9562 or visit bluebirdcare.ie and bring care home.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
When your new smart meter arrives, it's going to change everything about how you use electricity. And Electric Ireland is ready to help you enjoy it all. From choosing your own billing date, to saying goodbye to estimated bills and taking more control over your usage, you'll be able to make better energy choices for you and for Ireland. So the better it'll be for everyone. Search Electric Ireland smart meters today. Electric Ireland. We're brighter together.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny for their Garden Super Saturday series for the month of April. This Saturday, April 9th, special guest Gareth Austin will host a garden clinic. The Homeland team will showcase outdoor garden power with offers available on the Stiga battery range and Gardena robot lawnmowers. There's also buy 2 get 1 free on roses and climbing plants. There'll also be a chance to win a Stiga battery hedge trimmer on the day. Looking forward to seeing you this Saturday at Homeland Letterkenny.
Okay, so we are in this situation where we are seeing, unheard of I presume, boats full of fish leaving Keeley. Now, Keeley is renowned across Ireland, Europe and beyond for landing and processing fish. Now we're sending fish away. The SFPA are insisting, it seems, though they have a very wordy statement that I can't my head and a tail off, and they don't have a spokesperson available. They maintain that they won't allow these fish, these blue whiting, to be landed in water. And the skippers say, well, and the general consensus seems to be that if they're landed dry, they're no use for human consumption any longer, and they it's effectively fish meal. So what impact is this having? Some say it could cost tens of millions per year. Eugene McBurty is owner of Kerr in Killybegs. Eugene, are you feeling the effects of the SFPA action here?
Yes. Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on. Greg, look, before we start anything, I'm just representing myself.
Understood.
I'm not representing any group or any company or anything else in Killybegs.
But all of this is impacting you, and that we're talking about how it's affecting you.
This is how it's affecting me. So I rang your radio station looking to get on the radio. I wasn't asked by anybody to go on it, and you didn't ring me. So I rang yesterday after Brendan Byrne was on. So it is affecting me, so that's why I want to talk about it. Right, in the engineering sector here in Killybegs, which I am employing 45 people, right, and we supply electrical refrigeration service, and we manufacture refrigeration equipment, and we sell it to a lot of European countries. And in the total, say, in the engineering sector and net manufacturing in Killybegs, we're between 380 and 400 plus, that's only a rough estimate, of people involved in the services to the fishing industry. That's all year round, right? So in the Irish fishing industry, our Irish boats are only fishing for about 3 months a year. Maybe some of them might get 4 months, right? And we are dependent to have business to pay our people for the rest of the year. So we are getting work from foreign boats. And the foreign boats that we, last year, or 2 years ago, we got a grant from British Ireland to go out to all the European fishing exhibitions, and we went to all over Europe. We went to Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Germany, Latvia, Croatia, Iceland, Faroes, Spain and France to sell our equipment. And all the other engineering companies and net manufacturers in Killybegs done the same thing. And this cost between, each time you go away, between 5,000 and maybe 15, depending on hotels and flights and where you're going, right? So we have sold a lot of equipment to all these companies, and now they come to Killybegs, and when they come in out to service, we can't get on the boats, so we're losing money. And we have gone through a lot of threats on our business.
Can you talk to me though, Eugene, why you can't get on the boat? Sorry, how is that linked?
Well, there's no problem getting the boats when the boats are at the pier, but the boats are coming in, some Norwegian boats, and actually some of them are ringing up now saying they can't come in because they don't know if they can't guarantee if they're going to get their fish landed here. And say on the Norwegian boat that went away yesterday, the day before, whatever day it was, that fish was auctioned, and the company in Killybegs had to buy it at an auction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they bought the fish, and now the boat arrives to Killybegs. So they weren't allowed to land the fish because they wanted them to pump them dry, so that it would end up in fish meal, because a boat after that was asked to do the same thing, and all their fish was sent to fish meal, and that reduced the price maybe about 50%.
Wow, okay.
The price of diesel now at the moment, no fishing owner can take that hit.
So presumably, and I know this is not your business, Eugene, but you would know, when this goes to auction, you would pay more, you would bid more if you could process this fish for human consumption than you might for fish meal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing about it, the company that bought them was fish at the auction, right? And the boat here came in, and that was their fish. They had it. So now, if you don't take that fish, you can't buy fish at an auction no more, because you'd be saying, well, you put a bid on the last fish.
Yeah. The trust
and
is
you didn't
gone.
buy it.
The trust is gone, yeah.
Yeah. So that boat arrived, steamed 16 hours from Killybegs to Derry, and then the company sent over 40 lorries up to take the fish down. So it took about 32,000 litres of fuel to take the boat from Killybegs to Derry. And then it took about €800 per lorry to go from Killybegs to Derry to take the fish back. And that's fuel, and we're talking about environment. We're supposed to be looking after environment. Mm. There's a shortage of fuel at the moment. The Norwegian boats want, and all the foreign boats want to land their blue whiting into Killybegs because of the fuel costs. It's the closest harbour to them to land the fish. Yeah. There's great facilities in Killybegs to process all the fish. Mm-hmm. The Killybegs, in fact, the factories in Killybegs could be busy now till the end of May with Norwegian boats. If you went back to the 80s, right, and the early 90s, all the Irish fishing boats were fishing all year round nearly. And there were these luggers, that we used to call them, big factory ships. used to follow our Irish fleet from up the south of the Shetland Islands all the way till Castlebar, and that was the whole season. And the Rathmullen used to make a lot of money, Killybegs used to make a lot of money, Galway, and then Castlebar. Now all those boats that we used to call luggers and factory haulers, they had no quota back then. Now all those boats are out off the west coast of Ireland fishing. Any amount of fish they want, no problem, and all Irish fishing boats are tied up here. They're not allowed to fish. They're only given temporary licence to fish, and the fishing people in Killybegs and our Irish fishing community cannot air this or stand up to them, because they could be told in the morning they have no licence to go out to fish.
Yeah.
It's a temporary licence. They're told to go, you can go out now on Monday and you have 2 weeks to catch.
They don't want to upset the apple cart for fear of the ramifications.
No,
so
they can't afford it.
Eugene, so if I understand it correctly, then you would coincide maybe servicing or what have you with these ships coming into land. So you're directly affected by this, and I wonder if this is not sorted very, very, very quickly, the sort of reputational damage to Killybegs, it would be very, very difficult to repair again. And this is going to have an impact, obviously, the processors, and it's going to impact businesses like yours that are linked to it.
Yes, but the thing is, people don't understand the seriousness of this whole problem, right? A lot of people throughout the county in Ireland think that it's all, it's only like a fisherman in Killybegs. But the ripple effect is, if you just imagine dropping a stone in the ocean or in a puddle or in a bath, and the ripple effect that goes out, right? It's a major disaster for Killybegs, but the ripple effect that goes out to this whole county. Like, if you talk to the shoppers in Letterkenny, people that own shops and that, and they are talking, they know when there's fish in Killybegs, because their shops are busy, they have good sales. The shops in Ballbafay and that. And like, a lot of foreign boats come in here and they buy a lot of drink that they get home to Norway and different countries. They go out and they buy a lot of stuff in McElhinney's shop for the presents for their wives, and they go away to Letterkenny and they buy a lot of services here in Killybegs.
So,
see,
it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, the scale of this, Eugene. And I know it's been raised in the Dáil, but it's not being taken seriously, or it's no big deal. If this was a data centre that employing 400 or 500 people that could be about to go out of business, we'd move heaven and earth. Or if it were a business affecting, I don't know how many jobs could theoretically be affected by this, but it's probably the main employer in a big chunk of our county. And yet no one seems to care. It seems to be okay. The Marine Minister doesn't seem to want to get involved. I haven't seen anything in the fair play to the local papers, of course, covering it, but I've not seen anything nationally. I'm not across it all. Like, this is huge. And the longer this runs on, it makes it, if it can be fixed, maybe not, but even more difficult to fix.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, our minister, if he come out, he came around here to Killybegs, and he comes in here and he talks to us all. He's a human being, he's a family and all that. We'll respect him and what he's do. But if he'd be straight up to us and say, look, boys, we can do nothing for you, it's Europe, right? We would say, right, we'd let him alone, and we'd head to Europe ourselves and go out and try and find a solution. But when you're told, oh, I'm talking to this one, and the commissioner's over here, and the commissioner thinks we're all a share of crooks, why is the commissioner think it's all a share of crooks? You know,
well, how long are we going to be how long are we going to be punished for that? Also, these fish are being landed in water at other ports. We know that. So is it a European directive that only applies to us and only applies to us in the south, not the north? Because as you and it was great that you actually put a figure on how many litres of fuel is being burnt simply just to get around bureaucracy. Yeah. You know, because that in and of itself should be. I mean, the Eamon Ryan is a member of the Green Party. He's a government, a government leader, government minister. He should take an interest in this, if no one else. Then.
Yeah, but he has no interest. He's only interested in fucking taxing us and trying to get carbon tax and all that bullshit. You know, and it's not about the environment. It's all about money to them.
All right.
It's all about what we can get off you to get more tax, more revenue, give them a rise. It's not about the people. It's time all the Irish people woke up and look at the direction we've been led. No.
Right, Eugene. Listen, thanks for explaining that for us from your perspective, and I hope it gets resolved quick. And I do appreciate your time this morning, Eugene. I really do. And fair play to you for supporting all those jobs. We just need to have a system that allows you to do it properly.
Yeah. Well, that's what we need to do. We need the people. We need the people to see what's going on. Because we can't emerge from this crisis, on our own. We have to have people together, to unite, because this and be solidarity of each other, so we get this done. Because this fishing industry is interconnected to the whole community, and people don't realise that.
Yeah.
So that's where we need to get solidarity and try and find a solution to this problem.
And listen, it's like a hotel. If a hotel is full, the local casket business, the local newsagent sells newspapers, the local gift shop sells stuff. It's the exact same. Listen, Eugene, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Okay, apologies for a wee bit of language in there, but obviously, as you can understand, passions are running high. This is people's livelihoods, and it seems like no one is listening. Anne Holohan is chair of the Keeley Community Council. I mean, it's hard to add much, isn't it? And to what Eugene's outlined there, he painted the picture very, very clearly for us all that these decisions that are being made, they're having a wide impact and a huge impact, particularly, I think, on Keeley Beggs.
Yes, Greg, to be honest with you, you've touched on, I suppose, an awful lot of what the community out there are thinking. I represent Keeley Community Council, and people are saying, what can we do? Just ordinary, everyday people wondering, what can we do? How can we, I think Eugene used the word solidarity, how can we stand together? How can we get our voices heard by the powers that be, nationally and at European level?
Do you feel forgotten in Keeley Beggs, Anne?
Very, very much so, yeah. Very much so. How can we make sense of this? Eugene used the analogy of a stone being dropped and the ripple effect. It's in two situations. You've got the crew coming in, landing, coming up the town. Obviously, the use that they make and the service they get from all the engineering, the net factories and everything like that. But there's also the coffees they buy in the coffee shop, the newspapers, as he said, the way that they go into, the chemist, the drape shop. It hits all the businesses in Keeley Beggs in the context of the crew and what they spend.
And then, of course, I'm not sure how people are employed, but if there's no work for people, presumably they're sent home. So they have less income. They're not able to go into the shop or the local takeaway because they have to say, right, well, we don't have that income that we had last week. And this goes on and on and on. And that's another layer of the economy that's damaged by this.
Exactly, and that's particularly long-term, and particularly at the moment in the context of the increases that we're all seeing in relation to living costs. So if you're in for a day's work and you lose that day's work, that has very much a knock-on effect in the context of your family and your spending power. And you're going to decide an awful lot more closely as to how you can actually spend that.
I mean, even internally, I know this has been raised, okay, but even internally in this county, I don't think it's being seen as the crisis that it is. And I'm just wondering, and I know this is a cheap shot and I don't mean it bad, but if this were a different town in the county, maybe further north, further east, I just wonder, would it be viewed as the crisis that it actually is, rather than,
I don't think there's I think potentially you're right. I don't think there's an understanding of what it actually means. People may not even know who or what the SFPA are. It's an understanding of the industry, and I suppose when you're living in it, you're working in it, your family's working in it, or whatever, in various different ways. You learn you know where it is, you know what the knock-on effect is. It's very difficult if you're not involved in the particular industry to understand exactly what is happening and the effect and putting the monetary effect on this in the context of the community. And yes, nothing has been done. We are not being heard. We're not being heard, as you say, I think, within the county. We're not being heard nationally. Because, as you say there, it hasn't even been mentioned in national papers.
I can't find it anywhere. I mean, if this was 400 or 500 jobs anywhere else, I just wouldn't.
Exactly.
Okay, listen, we're up against the news at 10, and I appreciate your time. We're not going to let this go, of course. We're going to stay with this, and we'll be touching base with you again as we try and get some answers and at least an explanation as to why no one seems to care. This is no disrespect to those that raised this in the Dáil yesterday, but still, I think the scale of this, the penny's not fully dropping right across the board. But I appreciate your time and help in getting this out there, Anne.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, take care of
Appreciate it.
yourself. That's Anne Holohan, Chair of the Keeley Community Council. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Guess where we're going on holidays?
Could be. Get your ticket from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday the 8th of April to also be in with a chance to win one of our bonus cash prizes of €1,000. Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Journey's End by the late best-selling author Colm Keane is out now. In it he reveals how death is not an end but a new beginning. Journey's End, Colm Keane's last book on the subject of death and dying, in bookshops now.
This is a notice for all tractor and agri-plant owners. Minimise your downtime when you need tyres and call Donegal Tyres Donegal Town. We can go to you and fit your tyres on site or repair your existing tyres if you have a puncture. Don't waste time and leave the hassle to us. So call Donegal Tyres now on 074 9721 482 to organise your call out.
Uncover Belfast this Easter and embrace a giant city experience guaranteed to surprise. Find a city alive with culture and entertainment, from festivals and live music to world-class attractions and everything in between. With great hotel deals, come for the day and stay for the night. So come on in, Uncover Belfast today. Find out more at visitbelfast.com.
We'll feel alive out in Belfast City, alright.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Gatwick's back. You can now fly daily to London Gatwick with Aer Lingus, the perfect gateway to explore South London. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. A business owner in Killybegs says the port could lose millions as a result of the current controversy over the SPFA's demands for strict weighing protocols, which has led to some Norwegian boats leaving the port or even refusing to dock. In one instance this week, a boat left Killybegs and landed its catch in Derry. The Killybegs company, which had already bought the catch, then had to collect the fish in Derry at a cost of thousands of euro. Eugene McBrearty is owner of Kerr in Killybegs. He says Norwegian boats could be bringing great business opportunities over the coming weeks. Instead, he says the situation is in a mess.
That boat steamed 16 hours from Killybegs to Derry. Then the company sent over 40 lorries up to take the fish down. So it took about 32,000 litres of fuel to take the boat from Killybegs to Derry. And then it took about €800 per lorry to go from Killybegs to Derry to take the fish back. And we're talking about environment. There's a shortage of food at the moment. The fact is Killybegs could be busy now till the end of May with Norwegian boats.
Investigations into criminal activity in Donegal are continuing. This week an operation was conducted by Gardaí from Milford, assisted by the Armed Support Unit, the Garda Dog Unit and other divisional units. A firearm, a number of rounds of ammunition and a stolen motorcycle were recovered following a search of a house and lands in Kilmacrennan on Tuesday. A man in his 40s was arrested and charged. He is expected to appear before Letterkenny District Court this week. Gardaí say the investigation is ongoing. Donegal County Council is to put a proposed variation to the county development plan out to public consultation. The variation will incorporate landslide susceptibility evidence gathered in the wake of the recent Mean Bog landslide. The variation will also ban wind farm developments in freshwater Pearl Mussel catchment areas and around Glenveigh National Park, the Weebarra River Basin, St John's Point and other areas of scenic amenity. Councillor Gary Doherty proposed the consultation go ahead. He says it's time the people had their say.
That those areas that are susceptible to landslides will now be ruled as not permissible for wind farm development, and I think that's a positive development, and I would hope that the public can get behind that amendment and the variation to the development plan, and we'll see that finally passed in a couple of months. And then there's also other amendments that were tabled for other areas in the county, which we have seen that locals and residents in the area simply don't want one farm developments in those areas. So hopefully now that will pass the public consultation phase.
HICWA says its inspections of public hospitals will now include more focus on patient safety, including the conditions in which care is provided in emergency departments. HICWA has launched its new programme of inspections, with Director of Healthcare Regulation Sean Egan saying it'll assess the standard and quality of care across the health service as Ireland enters the next phase of the COVID pandemic. He told Highland Radio News HICWA wants to be a voice for the vulnerable.
We're aiming to ensure that we act as a kind of voice for the vulnerable in terms of those patients who are very reliant on, for example, access to emergency departments. And we all know that there are severe overcrowding issues that they're only getting worse. And what we're aiming to try and do is act as a catalyst for improvement in seeking to ensure that the necessary reforms of the health system that are required through things like Sláinte care and the implementation of capacity plans are implemented.
Meanwhile, just over 2,000 excess deaths were recorded in Ireland since the start of the COVID pandemic. New HICWA analysis shows Ireland's excess mortality during the second half of last year was among the lowest in Europe, however. With more, here's Stephen Murphy.
Excess deaths measure how many more people died during a period of time than would normally be expected. HICWA says that between the start of the pandemic in March 2020 and November 2021, there were an estimated 2,019. A new report from the Health Watchdog shows they occurred during a 7-week period from late March to mid-May 2020 and an 8-week period from early January to late February 2021. 82% of excess deaths were among people over the age of 65. HICWA says Ireland's relatively lower proportion of older adults, low population density and vaccination rollout all helped to reduce the levels of severe disease.
And a new €12.5 million higher education transformation project has been launched today at the newly formed Atlantic Technological University. Higher Education 4 is designed to transform the way adult learners and employers engage with third level education. Looking at the weather forecast, after a blustery and cloudy start this morning, the showers will gradually ease, moving south by the afternoon with some clear and sunny spells developing. A cool northerly breeze will mean highs struggle to reach 7 to 9 degrees today. Cold but clear this evening with 1 or 2 isolated showers. They'll die out by tonight, leaving clear skies and light winds. That'll let lows drop below freezing. Temperatures of -2 to +2 degrees Celsius expected tomorrow morning. A touch of frost in sheltered areas too. A clear but cold start for many with just a touch of cloud. More cloud building later in the morning with isolated showers developing by tomorrow afternoon. They'll largely die out in the evening with long clear and dry spells developing northerly breezes, keeping temperatures a little cooler. Highs tomorrow of 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock.
The obituary notice is for this Thursday morning, April the 7th. The death has taken place of Anna Wallace, née Holmes, Glencar Road, Letterkenny, and formerly Maharamore Manor Cunningham and Dromahal. Anna's remains will be reposing at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest tomorrow evening from 5:30 until 7 o'clock, with removal directly afterwards to her home at Glencar Road. House private to family only, please. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, going to St Columbus Church, Dromahal for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Interment afterwards in Conwell Cemetery, Letterkenny. The death has taken place of Gretty McMonigal, née Hanrahan, Creve Smith, Letterkenny, and formerly of Fecal, County Clare. Gretty's remains will repose at her late residence from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there on Saturday morning for Mass at 11 o'clock in St Eunan's Cathedral, followed by cremation in Lakelands Crematorium, County Cavan. The funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, donations to the Donegal Hospice, Letterkenny, care of any family member. Family time from 9 p.m. until 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Mary McGinley, née Smith, Carlsruhe, Germany, and formerly of Kilternan, County Dublin. Funeral leaving Quigley's Funeral Home, Strabane on Saturday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Clifford at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Margaret Massey, Greta, née McGoldrick, Strabane. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane, followed by burial in Strabane Cemetery. House private, family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers to Cat Protection Society, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Harold Harry Vance, 25 Clements Court, Waterside, and formerly of Convoy. Funeral service will be held in his home this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Ballyowen Cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if wished to Friends of Altnagalvin, Ward 41, Mr Brian Morn, MDEC, Altnagalvin Hospital. And the death has occurred of Brendan Doherty, 1 Bonamain Bridge End, and formerly 22 The New Cottages, Burnfoot. His remains are reposing at the residence of his daughter Mary Doherty, Chrislamore, Burnfoot. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 to St Mary's Church, Fawn, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Brendan's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to Surgical 1 at Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Excellent broadcasting across the Northwest, on air, across the world, online and via your smart speakers, and you can watch the programme. Good morning to Michael, Annie, Beth, Carl watching the programme. You can go onto our website right now, highlandradio.com, and watch it there. We're going to be talking about the afterlife in the last hour. We're going to be answering your relationship questions and so much more besides. Tomorrow, we are going to give one of you €1,000. It's part of our €10,000 holiday giveaway. The tickets are available on our website right now. We already give away a holiday for 2 people to Turkey last month. And as I say, we've got €2,000 to give away tomorrow. 1,000 on this programme and 1,000 on John Breslin's show. And it's just a reward for getting your tickets early. If you win the €1,000, you're still in the draw for that holiday of a lifetime, or whatever you want to do with your €10,000 holiday voucher. You also get €5,000 cash to spend as you would like. If you want to get involved and be in a chance to win that cash prize tomorrow as well, you can go onto our website right now, highlandradio.com, and you can buy a ticket, a single ticket for €10. And after that, you can buy 6 for €50, so it gets cheaper the more you buy, or 10 for €80. It's completely up to you what you want to do with any spare cash you might have. So the draws take place tomorrow, €1,000 on this show, €1,000 on John's show, but you have to buy your ticket today to be in with a chance of winning the cash prize. But as I say, even if you don't, you're still in with a chance to win that €15,000, effectively 10,000 to spend on a single holiday of a lifetime, or multiple holidays as you wish. You can just keep drawing out of it and go back and forward to Tenerife as often as 10,000 would allow. And you also have that €5,000 spending money. That draw takes place on the 14th. I don't want to confuse things. Tomorrow, 2 €1,000 to give away. Just buy your ticket today and you will be in that draw. Right, okay, it is time for... I was going to do some of your comments, but we'll take the bingo numbers first because it's jackpot day, so I'm sure lots of you are keen to hear those. Obviously, as usual, we'll play a piece of music for you around about 10:30. Throwing the lines open to you now too if you want to dedicate it to somebody, a birthday, anniversary, maybe, wedding, whatever it might be. If you want to play a request for someone on Highland Radio, your number one local radio station, then get in touch with us now. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApps and texts for your requests. So call Caroline on 074 91 25,000. And look, if there's a particular piece of music you might be interested in hearing as well, feel free to make that suggestion.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 7th of April, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €5,800 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 14. The jackpot number is 53. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 55, 42, 66, 88, 20, 46, 72, 8, 65, and finally 25. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockist of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade and service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
Farmers may need environmental licence to keep stock. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal EU plans to introduce environmental permits on livestock farms. Suckler farmers most at risk from rising fertiliser costs. Why holding back €40 million in unspent bean money could lead to fodder shortages. Cullio prices treble to €300 a head. Orivo profits soar as we analyse the impact of Lakeland's lockdown on production.
Plus, get your free Easter food magazine inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. On sale now.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny now has even longer opening hours. Try Kelly's Early Bird Breakfast, one of their great lunch specials, or a renowned Jake's Burger. Kelly's famous steak specials are available every Saturday from 3, with an 8-ounce succulent steak and all the trimmings for just €11. New extended opening hours now in Kelly's award-winning diner at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Check out Facebook for details.
Finharbs take on league leaders Derry City in the Northwest Derby. It's a standout tie of the Premier Division this weekend. Join the Highland team for full live match commentary this Saturday from the 5:30 kick-off at Finn Park.
Finharps on Highland in association with B&S Credit Union Ballybofey, where their special car loan rate is now on offer. Own your car from the start with a fast, flexible and affordable loan from B&S Credit Union. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
You're very welcome back to the programme, and keep those comments coming into us. I appreciate it. Delighted to welcome on to the show now James. Hi, James.
Hiya, Greg.
Right, we're kind of following up. We are following up on the conversation as it relates to this this situation in Keeley. So, what's your experience?
Well, in a previous life, Greg, I would have been a delivery driver to Keeley.
Yeah.
Services, supermarkets, and all that. It was frozen food mostly. And when the ships were coming in, they had to re-provision, and as that gentleman said. And whereas we would be delivering, say, 20 or 30 boxes of product maybe to each supermarket, they would have ordered their, they would have been providing to the ships. And when the orders came in there, it was by the lorry load and by pallets that we would have been delivering to the ships via the supermarkets.
Much more than would be required for the local population.
Pardon?
It would be much more than would be required for the local population. It was clear that this was for the for when the boats and all landed in.
We would have had to send one lorry directly to for the product to be delivered to the pier by the lorry load. The instant thing is, it's a bit like bringing coals to Newcastle. Quite a lot of that was actually frozen fish.
There's always an irony in there, and that's the one, all right.
And it was being produced. A lot of that was being produced in Donegal, produced, packed, and delivered. And I mean, the town was buzzing. Now, this would have been the late 80s, and that if you had in your lorry in Keeley before 9 o'clock, you would have found it nearly impossible to get parked to service other shops. Like, the town was buzzing, and you would have saw an awful lot of Donegal engineering, providers of refrigeration, everything. I mean, he talked about the ripple effect, as I say, but that was only one example of, the amount of trade that was going on there, and it was keeping jobs local as well.
Of course.
us delivering men in jobs as well too. Because as I say, it was by the lorry load we were delivering there, whereas you'd have been maybe dropping off a half pallet to each of the supermarkets. So I would be fully supportive of it. It really sounds so silly. Plus the fact is, if the Greens might want to take the note, if you turn away a ship and it has to head away somewhere fully laden, it's burning twice as much fuel.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense at all. But I would be fully supportive of. I forget that. I think
Eugene.
Also,
yeah.
I think the loss to local businesses. It's look. I hate to say it's only Ireland.
It's just trying to get the word out there so it gets picked up on a wider scale. Because, as I said, if this was happening anywhere else, the amount of money it's costing the county, this particular area, the amount of hundreds and hundreds of jobs potentially in industry lost, it just needs more attention. James, thanks for helping us. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right,
Greg.
take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Right, now, ministers have been briefed on plans to try to make around 8,000 vacant properties linked to the Fair Deal nursing home scheme available to those fleeing the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Cormac Quinn, political correspondent with the Irish Times, has been writing about this and joins us on the programme now. Cormac, thanks for your time today.
Morning, Greg.
So can you explain this to us in a little bit more detail, Cormac? What is being looked at and what impact might it have?
Well, in a nutshell, the government is looking at every possible avenue that they can find to house the tens of thousands of people fleeing to Ireland from the war in Ukraine. So on Tuesday, the Minister for Housing, Darragh O'Brien, briefed Cabinet on a range of different measures being examined on how to do this. Everything from the looking for properties that local authorities might be able to identify around the country to looking for sites that could easily be built on in the near term future. But one of the interesting areas that the government is examining is the area of the Fair Deal nursing home scheme. There's all sorts of conditions for people who enter nursing homes in terms of what they do with their vacant properties that they leave. But one thing that the government has been seeking and is committed to reform is the system whereby they lose out financially if they put them on the rental market. So at present, if somebody who's in a nursing home or their families put the house on the rental market, they have to 8% of the proceeds of the rent has to be paid into the Fair Deal scheme to help contribute to the cost of nursing home care. Mm-hmm. What the government is looking at doing is either waiving that or significantly reducing the amount of contribution that would have to go to the cost of the nursing home care as an incentive to put these properties back into the market, specifically the rental market. There's an estimate that it could amount to 8,000 properties, albeit the government say that even if it was a fraction of that amount that came back in the market, would help to ease the pressure on the rental market. So it's been looked at with renewed impetus.
Well, that's it, because this was mooted as a was it not before? I can't remember how long, perhaps last year, as a way of addressing the shortage in the rental market and the housing market. It didn't pass then. But are they talking about this specifically to deal with to help house Ukrainian refugees, or to deal with the already crisis in housing as a whole?
Well, the way it was put to me is the goal of doing this is to increase the number of properties on the rental market in general, to ease pressure on supply. However, in doing so, that creates other supply potentially for Ukrainian refugees, and they're not discounting the possibility that some Ukrainian refugees will also end up in some of these properties. But the renewed impetus to make the reform to the Fair Deal scheme to incentivise people to put these properties back on the rental market was the influx of Ukrainian refugees and the tens of thousands of people potentially that the state is going to have to accommodate in the very near future.
Yeah, and because of course it's not only those that will be arriving. It's hard to imagine that within 3 months or even 6 months that those that are taking up like the likes of hotel rooms or B&Bs that they will be able to return home for those that want to. So I mean, it's scaled up the housing crisis massively here.
Absolutely. I mean, the scale of what is needed is being examined at the moment. But an estimate that Darragh O'Brien itself has given is that over the next 5 or 6 years, potentially an extra 35,000 houses total will be needed. That's on top of the 33,000 houses a year that we need for Irish housing needs under the Housing for All plan. So it's about 7,000 extra houses per year needed to cope with the influx of Ukrainian refugees under one model that they're looking at. I mean, they don't know ultimately how many accommodation spaces they're going to need. They don't know how many refugees are going to come here. They don't know how long the war is going to last. And they don't know when it would be safe for people to return, even if the war ends.
Yeah, so Cormac, with all that in mind, is there any conversation being had about whether or not it is responsible for us to be accommodating or trying to accommodate so many people? In other words, obviously it's to give them refuge, okay, but maybe tented accommodation or the use of warehouses, that might be a temporary fix. But I wonder, is it responsible to invite so many in? They might be incredibly, even though they're fleeing an awful situation, maybe there are other options elsewhere. And do you understand? I hope you understand the tone of that question.
I know what you're saying. Should we be putting people in tents and
like, is it responsible? Do they know that's what they're facing when they land? I just wonder if anyone's talking about that.
What I would say to that is there may be no choice. Millions of people have fled Ukraine. Millions of those people are in the countries on the border, like Poland, like Moldova. Creating significant pressure on those countries. So it's a question of fairness across the European Union for a start, in terms of how many refugees each country will take, but also it's also relative. Do you know what I mean? A tent in Ireland is still better than the bombs from Vladimir Putin's planes and artillery. So it's. I mean. Oh no! I mean, obviously
the question is framed if there was no alternative. If we look at it from a European perspective.
To answer the question, there is no debate that Ireland should not be taking these people in. The Taoiseach said it yesterday in the Dáil himself, that when President Vladimir Zelensky addressed the Dáil, that Ireland will play its part in taking the refugees, and they can stay as long as they need to. Yeah. There's no suggestion in government that Ireland won't be stepping up to the plate and taking the I suppose the fair share of refugees from across Europe. I mean, Ireland, as in previous refugee crises, Ireland, I suppose, commits to taking the proportional percentage as across the European Union. I think it's in the region of 2% of however many people flee Ukraine. So it's it could be a very significant amount. I mean, the estimates have ranged up to 200,000. You will remember Charlie McConlogue, your local minister there, suggested that it could be as many as 200,000. I think that was based on an estimate that as many as 10 million people would leave Ukraine. So I mean, it remains to be seen. We're obviously nowhere near that yet. We're at more than 20,000 at the moment. So we're only 10% of that higher range. But certainly at present, there's no consideration that Ireland will not be taking its fair share of the refugees fleeing Ukraine.
OK, Cormac, listen, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Cormac McQuinn there, who's political correspondent with the Irish Times.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Thank you for filling out your census form. Your census enumerator will soon call to collect it. If you have any queries, visit census.ie or call 0818 202204. Census 2022. Be counted.
Farmers may need environmental licence to keep stock. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal EU plans to introduce environmental permits on livestock farms. Suckler farmers most at risk from rising fertiliser costs. Why holding back €40 million in unspent beam money could lead to fodder shortages. Cullio prices treble to €300 a head. Orivo profits soar as we analyse the impact of Lakeland's lockdown on production.
Plus, get your free Easter food magazine inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. On sale now.
We all deserve a better work-life balance. but not all of us have the space to work from home.
Connected Hubs brings together flexible workspaces across Ireland on one simple website.
So you can quickly and easily find a hub in your local area.
It's everything you want from an office without the lengthy commute.
Meaning you don't have to trade quality of life for quality of workspace.
Give yourself space. Visit connectedhubs.ie or download the app to discover a hub near you.
Connected Hubs is part of Our Rural Future, a Government of Ireland initiative.
The Sky Spring Sale is here. Get Sky Q with the TV you love all in one place. And super reliable Sky broadband so you can always stay connected. Plus, choose from Sky Sports or Sky Cinema. All for just €60 a month for 12 months. Don't miss this amazing offer. Just search Sky Spring Sale. Availability subject to location. New Sky customers only. Minimum term and further terms apply. For more information, see sky.ie/speeds.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
At Centra, we have great offers, like Centra Extra Lean Mints, 330 gram, only €3. Pringles Selected Range, 165 gram, €1.50 each. And in our Italian wine sale, San Valentino Pinot Grigio, better than half price, only €7. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
Okay, Greg, could you please play a very special request for Charles McLaughlin and Gemma McLaughlin, who are getting married in Rathmullen tomorrow. Hope they have a lovely day and a great life together. And they want to hear Bruno Mars. I've already got this chosen for someone else, though. But anyway, the request comes in from Mary and John Lynch. Thank you, Greg, they say. Breda Ferry in Tullygay, Letterkenny. A very happy birthday to you. That's coming in from Mum and Dad. Okay, 086 60 25,000. That is the WhatsApp text line. Give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Fancy a Chinese takeaway?
Yeah, in Beijing.
Could be. Get your ticket from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday the 8th of April to also be in with a chance to win one of our bonus cash prizes of €1,000.
Farmers, you're built different. One step after the other, you don't see the rewards for months or years. That's life on the farm. Or you could say, that's life in rehab. When you're learning to walk after a machinery injury, one step after the other, you don't see the rewards for months or years. Just because you've the strength to see you through rehab, it doesn't mean you should have to. Farmers, always take care around machinery. From the Health and Safety Authority, visit hsa.ie/farm safety.
Longcomb has an exclusive beauty gift waiting just for you at McGee's Pharmacy in Letterkenny. Simply purchase 2 Longcomb products, one to be skincare, and receive your free 6-piece gift containing a full-size Tonique Comfort Toner, a choice of either Hydrozen or Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Longcomb products. Available for 1 more week or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
As we move into spring, it's time that we look after what is precious to us. Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of your everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we are here for you with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre Letterkenny and Joyce's Chiropody Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, and we are going to be talking about fostering now. We've got 2 guests. I'll say good morning first to Ethna Larkin, Recruitment and Marketing Manager with Origins Foster. Good morning to you, Ethna. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having us this morning.
It's our pleasure. And we're also joined in studio by Magella McMullen, Social Worker with Origins Foster Care. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg, and thank you for the opportunity this morning to come on the show.
It's our pleasure. There's a pair of headphones there, actually. You might need those to hear Ethna. Ethna, I'll start with you. Talk to us about Origins Foster.
Yes, Origins Foster Care is a private foster agency that recruits and trains, assesses foster carers. So we're independent nationwide provider.
Okay, we might come back to you, Ethna, because there's a little bit of a delay on your line. Maybe you can pick up, Magella, and talk to us a little bit about Origins Foster Care also.
Origins Foster Care, Greg, is an independent nationwide Irish foster care provider that's been set up locally by qualified professionals who've years of training experience in the area of childcare. Mm-hmm. And I suppose if we look at the title to set the context of today's discussion, Origins, we talk about the point or place where something begins. And for children, that's in the home. And I suppose for discussion, that prompts the question, what do children actually need to allow them to reach their full potential? Children need a safe, supportive and loving home, somewhere that offers that emotional warmth and consistent, predictable parenting. And I suppose we know that children strive with structure and routine.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of fostering that, well, actually, before we get to that, why do we need private agencies of foster recruitment and marketing, as opposed to state provided?
Well, recently, Greg, and I suppose you'd have seen in recent years that Ireland has embraced itself in a mixed economy of care providers or provisions. And that includes independent, charitable, private and the statutory sectors. And we work collectively to ensure that the best possible placements are available and made available to TUSLA for children that need to be placed in care.
And who can become a foster parent?
Well, to become a foster carer,
carer, I beg your pardon, I'll choose my language a bit more carefully. A foster carer.
To become a foster carer, Greg, first of all, you have to be over the age of 25 years. You have to have a spare room in your family home, and you have to be willing to be Garda vetted. And we know Garda vetting is very important in society at the minute. And you also need to be able to demonstrate your knowledge and your commitment to providing that care for these children.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of, do you have to be an individual? Do you have to be a couple? Does gender matter? Is there an upward age?
No, Greg, we are open to consideration for applicants that be single applicants or couples. At the minute, we would be, our recruitment camp here, particularly here in Donegal, is what we're focusing on at the minute. And we'd be happy to consider potential applicants. I suppose in terms of statistics, in Ireland at the minute there's approximately 6,000 children in care, and here in Donegal we have approximately 224 children in foster care. So that's quite significant, and society is changing, placements are needed urgently, and I suppose Origins would get on average 60 calls in the month from TUSLA looking for a placement for a child.
Well, presumably some would be short term, some would be medium term and perhaps long term?
Absolutely. I suppose what we look at is, first of all, respite, short term emergency placements, and then the more long term placement. And that's, I suppose, we look at the compatibility.
Yeah, if someone is applying, can they say, short term placements would suit me better, or I would prefer a more longer term placement? Does the person applying have that? Can they express that preference?
Yes, of course they can express that preference, and I suppose that would be teased out in more detail when we would complete what we call the fostering assessment. And that is, I suppose, takes place over a period of time, and that's where you get to know the applicants, that you look at their circumstances, and yes, you agree what they can offer and what you think as the assessor what they can provide.
And in terms of the age of the children, it is children obviously that would require a foster carer. Presumably it can go from anything from close to newborn to pushing 18.
That's correct, Greg. A child is deemed anyone aged between 0 and 18 years, and yes, we are looking, and we do have applicants and get referrals in for children and young people of all ages.
So in terms of someone listening, right, and they have a job, okay, and they work 9 to 5, but they've got one child with a childminder, what have you, and they think, right, I want to get involved in this. Do they have to be at home, or how would that work, in reality?
Well, we look at each applicant or application on an individual basis, Greg, and if a family, a couple or an individual come forward and we feel that they have the knowledge and the skills to offer to become a potential foster carer, then we look at the level of support that they can provide, or the level of support in terms of the wider network that's needed to secure that placement and to maintain that placement.
Mm. And in terms of then support for child, if support is required, dependent on what home they're coming from, is that provided by, or whom is that provided by, or is there an expectation on, obviously the foster care is going to try and nurture and look after the child as much as possible, but are they given any support in that regard, more specialist if required? And is it you that provide them? Is it TUSLA? How does that work?
Origins provide a high level of training and to their foster carers. We also provide ongoing, practical support in terms of managing placements and developing in their skills as foster carers. We also have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week 365 days a year support. So therefore, if there is an emergency, if there is something that they need to discuss, or just something that they're uncomfortable with, there's someone at the end of the phone to deal with that.
Okay, I want to see if we can bring Ethna Larkin back in, recruitment and marketing manager with Origins Foster. Sorry about that, Ethna, just the connection wasn't fantastic. I hope it's improved.
Yes, hopefully.
Right. Okay. So you've been a foster parent for over 20 years. I've spoken to people who have been foster carers in the past, and it's normally like incredibly rewarding, but it is also a challenge. Of course, and I think we can all understand that. Is that the balance there?
Yeah, absolutely. Foster care certainly comes with its challenges. Obviously, children coming into care are coming from traumatic backgrounds with having had all kinds of experiences. And I suppose the rewards are huge. They can be very small changes in children. It could just be them able to actually relax, maybe, and actually sleep through the night. It could be that they actually can sit at the table and relax and enjoy their food, that they can settle into school, maybe that they can participate in team games, that they have actually a little bit of belief in themselves. And they can be very small little changes that you notice in the children, but they're huge leaps in their development. And we've had children, from all ages in long-term care with us, and over time seeing the changes in the children. It is very rewarding. Of course, it comes with its challenges, and obviously there are more and more challenges as time goes on with technology, and the advance of mobile phones and all the social media challenges. But when you see a child settle into your home, it is hugely rewarding.
Yeah, but
and
obviously,
just see they.
Yeah, but obviously, like there's a maternal paternal element that kicks in there. Is that difficult? Because bonds. It's inevitable the bonds will form, and it's inevitable that you might, not you, but a person generically might feel that they're still the best option, even if to say, for instance, decide otherwise. Is that difficult to deal with? I'm not asking you to necessarily reflect Ethna personally, but speaking to people involved in foster caring.
It is difficult, of course, and sometimes what happens is of course you form a bond with the child in your care, regardless of how long or how short the child is in your care for. And sometimes, of course, the foster carer thinks that the best option for the child is to stay within the foster care family. And to slim in, decide that it's actually best interest to return to the birth family. But I suppose the support that you would have from your link worker at that time to guide you and your family through that, to give you the time to process, because it is a lot when the child returns home. And eventually then you get to the stage where you accept and you do realise that regardless as to how short that time was, you did make an impact on that child's life. And we still have children who have left our care and they come back to visit. And that's rewarding.
Yeah, indeed. And in terms of matching, is it the norm that if, say, for instance, we're looking for foster carers in Donegal now, is it to care for Donegal children, or is the sort of national demand, that really what drives against availability? Is that what drives sort of the matching process?
Yes, of course, the ideal situation is the children are cared for within their local community so that there is as little disruption as possible to their lives. And the ideal situation is that they can continue to attend the schools that they're registered in and continue on with all of their own activities. Sometimes, unfortunately, due to lack of availability or for some reasons, that may not be possible. And children may be placed in care outside their own local area. But we do have requests for placements in Donegal, within the Donegal communities.
And in terms
so that is
of
our first preference.
The interaction between foster carers and birth parental parents, is there any interaction there?
Well, obviously the children access is encouraged, and contact with birth parents is hugely important for children who come into care. So, the family of origin and continuing those links is hugely important as part of the child's development.
Yeah, okay. So, Majella, back to you. Obviously, we're talking about this because there is more demand than there is people available. So what happens to children who don't, who can't be matched with a carer, or if there are no carers available to them, do we know?
Well, TUSLA has overall responsibility in terms of the placement of children, and we in Origins wouldn't have direct insight into that. However, I would know that children that are awaiting foster placements would be have a safety plan in place, and then it would be the matching process and so on. And that's where we would come in terms of providing that placement in the discussion with TUSLA as to what's needed.
Now, obviously, we have been reading or read in the newspapers, there's hundreds of children, I think it is hundreds of children that have come here from Ukraine alone, that whether they were separated their parents or the parents were killed or what have you. I presume that's puts an instant increase in pressure on demand.
That's correct, Greg. You know, I suppose we've all been monitoring the situation in Ukraine and the desperate situation that we find themselves in. And we would have seen the CEO of TUSLA on recently talking about unaccompanied minors that are coming here to Ireland, and they require a safe home. And in that, assessments will have to take place for any individual or couple that comes forward to say that they would offer a placement to a child that has come from Ukraine. The same process will apply, but it does put extra pressure on all the services that are looking for foster placements at the minute.
And I suppose, Ethna, for those that are wobbling on this or on the fence and are wondering, is this for me? If someone can do this, they're doing an incredibly important thing. Probably the greatest gift that we actually can give. You know, we talk about cars and houses and holidays and getting promotions and stuff, but can we do anything more important, I wonder, than, nurture a young person to adulthood as best we can? I'm not really sure we have any other meaningful purpose. That's just my personal view. Foster care allows that.
Yeah, absolutely. Foster care facilitates that. And, anybody who's maybe thinking about it, contemplating it, wondering if it's for them, we would be delighted to talk to them. All they need to do is pick up the phone to myself, and we can have an informal chat, talk about their requirements, their suitabilities, and take it from there. So yeah, absolutely. They can either email us at inquiries@originsfostercare.ie or pick up the phone to myself or contact us through any of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll be delighted to answer questions.
How are foster carers supported? What financial supports? Because obviously, there's going to be extra costs involved, maybe extra driving. If there's hospital or medical appointments, there's a cost associated with that as well, of course, food and that type of stuff. Are foster carers supported?
Yes, indeed. First of all children coming into care have a medical card. So all of the medical expenses are covered. The foster carer receives the children's allowance when the child is in a placement with them. And there's also a weekly fostering allowance paid to the foster carer to cover all those additional expenses, school transport, uniforms, books, transport to activity costs. And
yes, go ahead.
It is €325 a week for under 12s and €352 a week for over 12s.
Okay. And Majella, this is not as blunt a question as it sounds, but people might be curious. In terms of someone reaching out, the conversation starting, if everything, matches up, how quickly, from first contact would we talking about people maybe, becoming foster carers?
There is a 16-week period in where we would do the initial screening and the assessment process. There is training involved and very detailed training to allow the foster carers, I suppose, to explore in the wider sense what fostering is and the complexities of children that come into care. We are seeking foster placements as a matter of urgency collectively throughout all the agencies that provide this level of care. And anyone, as Ethna has said, that feels that they have a spare room in their house, that they have the skills and that they're interested in providing opportunity to children, we would welcome to hear.
You talk about spare rooms, but if there were two similarly aged boys, presumably, or girls, they can bunk up?
That's siblings, if it was a sibling group.
Okay, right, I
Yes.
get you. Okay, I understand. And listen, we might as well go into this process with eyes wide open as well. You have to prepare yourself for scrutiny and perhaps even rejection. That's the reality of it. Even some people might go, well, I don't want to be called a veteran. Why? I've never done anything wrong in my life. It is part of the process, and this is really about childcare, so it's us as adults probably might have to take a bit of that.
That's correct, Greg. The assessment process can be quite intrusive. We do ask difficult questions, we explore difficult topics, but that's necessary because we have to find the best possible place for a child, and that we need to know that the child's safe, or that the children are safe. So therefore, yes, there is a rigorous process. However, once a matching is complete and a child is placed, then we have achieved the objective.
Yeah. And I think it's the same to you. People have to go into this process with their eyes open as well.
Absolutely. It is challenging. There's no point sugarcoating it. Children come in with all kinds of, they may have behavioural issues, they may have experienced some things that they shouldn't have seen as children and have trauma as a result of that. But I suppose the thing for prospective foster carers to remember is that Origins do provide training. There's support all the way. So any issue that may arise, you have a link worker there to support you, and you will have covered a lot of the situations in the initial training and the ongoing training that's offered to you. So I would say to people who are thinking about it, don't be put off by the possible challenges that you could encounter. Pick up the phone, explore the possibilities and see if it's right for you.
Okay, and I asked the question earlier, I'm not sure it was answered. Is there a cut-off age upward? Yeah, is there, Ethna?
No, we have you must be over 25 to foster, but we don't have an upper age limit, simply because, a lot of older people have lots of experience to offer.
Everyone is different as well, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Ethna Larkin, thanks very much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Ethna Larkin, Recruitment and Marketing Manager with Origins Foster. And do you have the contact details, Majella, in front of you, just to wrap up?
Certainly. Ethna's contact details are, her mobile number is 087 052 9749, and Origins Foster Care can be located on the website.
And just to recap, you single people can apply as well. You don't have to have a partner, but that'll all be assessed as part of the conversation, presumably.
That's correct, Greg. And I suppose, and to conclude today, what we are asking, or what our plea is to your listeners, would you consider opening your home to a child or children to offer that safe environment here in Donegal?
Okay, listen, thank you so very much for your time. That was Majella McMullen, social worker with Origins Foster Care. Back with more on this programme after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny, your football destination store. If you belong on pitch, try a new pair of Adidas Predator Edge football boots, available in kids and adult sizes. Complete your kit with a pair of Murphy's gloves, available in many colours and sizes. Update your O'Neill shorts and socks with the all-important Gum Shield. Then you're ready to compete. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
At Keeley Supermarket, we offer daily specials at our deli with fresh and delicious food to go. Avail of our butcher's weekly specials or choose from a range of healthy options and pre-packed meals, plus many more offers in store. We're open 7 days for your convenience. Keeley Supermarket, where quality and value is assured.
This Sunday, the Donegal ladies are off to Croke Park. Maxi Curran's side face off against the All-Ireland champions Meath at GAA headquarters in the National League Division 1 final. Join the Highland Radio team for full live match commentary on air from the 4 o'clock throw-in and online at highlandradio.com. Coverage is brought to you by Henry McGinley & Sons Limited, Milford, for all your general engineering queries, corner lintels and specialist fabrication. Call for a quote on 9153181.
Ireland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. This summer is going to be one of the busiest ever. Check out our summer flights to European cities such as Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Okay, a blustery start this morning and cloudy too with scattered showers. The showers though will gradually ease as they move south by this afternoon with some clear and sunny spells developing. A cool northerly breeze will mean our highs will struggle to reach 7 or 9 degrees today. A cold but clear evening with 1 or 2 isolated showers, but they will be generally dying out by night time. Clear skies and light winds overnight. You know what that means. Temperatures will drop to between -2 and +2 degrees expected, with a touch of frost in sheltered areas too. Tomorrow a clear but cold start for many, with just a touch of cloud. More cloud though will build up later in the morning with isolated showers developing by the afternoon. A wee mini heat wave would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, coming up after 11, we're going to be talking to Keeley, answering your relationship questions. Get them into us, 08660 25000. We're also going to be talking about a new book discussing the afterlife. What's next? Well, I can tell you what's next right now. It's the news at 11 o'clock. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A business owner in Keeley says the port could lose millions of euro as a result of the current controversy over the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority's demands for strict weighing protocols. The industry claims that if fish are weighed in the way the SFPA demand, they will be left unfit for human consumption, and this has led to some boats from Scandinavia either leaving the port without landing their catch or refusing to dock. Dr. Tony Holohan has said it isn't his intention to return to the role of Chief Medical Officer at any time in the future. Dr. Holohan is briefing a private meeting of the Oireachtas Health Committee on his secondment to Trinity College as a professor. Questions have been asked about why the Department of Health will continue to pay his salary and whether he could return to the department in future. South Donegal Deputy Mark McSharry says the Health Minister's defence of Dr. Holohan is patronising. Police in Derry say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing teenager. 15-year-old Henri McColgan was last seen on Sunday at around 9:45 p.m. He's described as being 5'10" in height with short brown hair, blue eyes and is believed to have been wearing a black hoodie and black body warmer. A Donegal deputy says we must continue to strengthen Ireland's military neutrality and ensure that it is not compromised. Deputy Thomas Pringle was speaking in the Dáil on the country's response to the war in Ukraine so far. Yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the Oireachtas, thanking Ireland for not staying neutral to his country's fight. ICWA says its inspections of public hospitals will now include more focus on patient safety, including the conditions in which care is provided in emergency departments. ICWA has now launched its new programme of inspections, with Director of Healthcare Regulations Sean Egan saying it will assess the standard and quality of care across the health service as Ireland enters the next phase of the COVID pandemic. And a new €12.5 million higher education transformation project has been launched today at the newly formed Atlantic Technological University. Higher Education 4.0 is designed to transform the way adult learners and employers engage with third-level education. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much indeed. A caller says this government should stand over the lease for the families under the Fair Deals scheme. Another, it's not fair. I'm fighting for a medical card for my son for the last 3 years. He has to carry EpiPens with him at all times because of a condition. I keep getting refused and these pens aren't cheap. So why are these refugees getting in medical cards just handed to them? I can really understand where you're coming from, but I would focus on the fight to get a medical card for your son. Have you contacted a local public rep, or perhaps maybe they can assist with you in that regard? Will the government be paying rent to homeowners in the Fair Deal scheme commensurate with the inflated hotel fees being paid for refugees? I don't know. I'm quite confused about how, as I said, we've been contacted by people that have properties available. They're prepared to take them off the Airbnb market, but they don't know if they will get money to do it, or are they expected to take the cost? I don't know. It's very hard to get any answers to these questions, and normally we do get answers for people, but this one we're struggling in, and then people are saying, well, sure, look, if they don't want the house, they don't want the house. Refishing, I'll see our Department of Agriculture and Fish civil servants all the same as in farming. Europe says jump, and our civil servants ask how high. No compromise or use of any common sense. Greg, I'm renting a room at the moment in a private house. A room. How much would you say they're paying? €540 a month, and then once a month dividing bills. I was really angry yesterday to discover that neither I nor the other housemate was included in the house census form. When I raised this issue with her, she said it was because she wasn't claiming our rent to revenue. But I think this gives a very full sense of the needs in the county. Had I have known this, I would have asked my mum to include me in her form in Cavan. Can I do anything about this now? I presume you can, if your mother hasn't handed in the form from Cavan, you could ask her to include it. I think the form does allow maybe for some of that information to be included on that. Listen, the census forms are not used by revenue to find out who's diddling the books or whatever it is. I would impress on your landlady to just include you in the census form. Also, obviously you're splitting the bills. Did they give you any discount for the €200 received from government for electricity? I think as a renter, it would be nice if you had some offset included in that. What about them log cabins? A tent is not much good with the storms in Ireland. The tents are in set up in a certain way, by the way. They're not just like tents, that you might go camping with. They're tented, the big army kind of tents. Also, this log cabin stuff, it's I'm kind of zoning out from it now because I'm hearing it all the time, and but nothing seems to be coming off it. And maybe it's not even. Maybe it's very incredibly expensive. How much is a log cabin? If it's 150 or €200, I mean, €200,000, is that really a solution? That's, a good way towards a house, presumably, if you got a good enough contract to build lots and lots of them. I know it wouldn't touch the cost of a house, but how much is a log cabin? How much would that cost to provide? And is that a good use of resources? We hear reasons, excuses regarding the carbon tax and its purpose, ring-fenced, etc. For what? One idea I heard was education. Some quango perhaps showing us how to shower in 2 minutes, drive at lower speeds, how to carpool, put compost in window boxes, etc. As a certain footballer pundit would say, do me a favour. Do me a favour, mate. I see the carbon budget was passed last night and the Dáil Sinn Féin didn't turn up or abstained. I think there was only 10 voted against it. I think there's an old-fashioned name for that game called Wordle, Greg. It's called Hangman, but perhaps that's not PC anymore or has been cancelled. No. Hangman is kind of different, but I take your point. Greg, there's a lot of talk about refugees coming to Ireland. Only 50 years ago, people from north of Ireland fled south of the border to safety, and they were called refugees at this time. Why do we never see a documentary on RTE about these people who are still alive to tell their story? Some could even be listening to your programme. Be interesting to hear how they are treated, where they housed. Different time, though, of course. Right, okay, we're going to be getting to questions to Keeley, our relationships expert. You still have time to get them into us, 086 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Century Complex, the perfect family day out this Easter. Kids will love exploring Century Play. We have lots of tasty options at Backstage Bar and Grill. And Century Cinemas are showing kids' movies, rom-coms, action and adventure movies, dramas and more. Call us on 074 91 21976 or visit centurycinemas.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Today is Mental Health Ireland's Hello, How Are You Day. Remember these simple steps. H, say hello. E, engage with the person. L, listen. L, learn about them. O, offer options. As a nation of great talkers, let's say with meaning, hello, how are you? Visit hellohowareyou.info for resources and support.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny for their Garden Super Saturday series for the month of April. This Saturday, April 9th, special guest Gareth Austin will host a garden clinic. The Homeland team will showcase outdoor garden power with offers available on the Stiga battery range and Gardena robot lawnmowers. There's also buy two get one free on roses and climbing plants. There'll also be a chance to win a Stiga battery hedge trimmer on the day. Looking forward to seeing you this Saturday at Homeland Letterkenny.
Donegal and Tyrone clash this Friday evening for a place in the Ulster Under-20 Football Championship Final. Join myself, Oisín Kelly and Martin McHugh in Celtic Park in Derry with live match commentary on our website on highlandradio.com from the 8pm throw-in. In association with the Old Orchard Inn, High Road, Letterkenny, who have launched their brand new menu under Chef David Tunio. You can also relax in the all-new Theo's Cocktail Bar and Terrace. See the Orchard Inn, Letterkenny on Facebook for more.
Left, right. For children of Ukraine, innocence is in the firing line. Your donation will give them food and first aid, water and warmth. Visit unicef.ie to have an immediate impact now.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. 086 60 25,000. That is the WhatsApp line, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Our psychotherapist, author and coach friend is Keeley Taverner. Good morning to you, Keeley. How are you?
I can barely hear you.
Pardon?
I could barely hear you today.
That's as loud as I can go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
I'm just speaking a little louder. Okay. Right, listen, good to have you on the programme. How are you keeping? How are you since I last spoke to you?
I'm not doing too bad. Avoiding the liabilities, avoiding the challenges, avoiding people who talk a good game but do not deliver. I'm doing all right.
Are we talking about men or society as a whole here?
We can call it men. We're talking relationships, aren't we? So why not? I'm one of those therapists. I talk about me.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about me because I'm going through this too. It's not just all book smart. This is lived experiences.
What is the, you know, say you've been burnt a couple of times, not you now, we're talking generally. Say you've been burnt a couple of times and you put your barriers up to protect yourself, right? How do you know how to let someone in? Is it time? Is it trust? What's the story?
I think it really depends on what issues you've been having in your relationships. But the challenge is, if you've been burnt many times in terms of letting someone in, the biggest issue is going to be trust. And often I think we project our desire for trust onto others, but can you trust yourself? I think is the biggest issue. Because often we get caught on, well, I can't trust this person, I can't trust this person. If we can't trust, our life just becomes really small. And we start to only function in a very tight, safe space, but you can't grow in a comfort zone.
So are we projecting a little bit then? Is that what you're saying?
I think trust issue gets projected onto other people. We say we can't trust other people, but actually it's you can't trust yourself based on, which is an appropriate thing, based on the hurts that you've been through before. However, as I said to somebody in IKEA the other day, is if that continues, that the person who's harmed you years ago, they are still in your present because you've never got over it. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that person to have that much power over my life.
No.
So the challenge is one has to risk again to live. Life is risk. Otherwise you'll play it safe and you'll never experience.
Yeah, I can't move past the fact that you had this conversation in IKEA. You just met someone in IKEA? Were you trying out a couch or something? How did that work?
I was having a look around and he started following me. So we just started talking and having a chat. So I was like, that's fine. We got into it.
All right. Come here. We take risk every day in life. You get into a car, you take a risk. You cross a busy street in London, you're taking a risk. You eat in a restaurant, you're taking a risk. But do we treat risks in meeting people or relationships differently, or should we?
Absolutely, especially if you keep going for problematic types. If you've got a pattern that you keep repeating again and again and again, and you keep, let's say, attracting trash. If you keep attracting trash and you've got issues with letting go, you get overly attached, this is a massive issue. So it makes sense that over time you get cautious, but ultimately I'm an advocate of, we've got to do the inner work. A lot of our relationship issues come from our attachment patterns. You know, this is where mummy and daddy issues show up, where you loved enough, hugged enough. Did you feel valuable? Did you feel worthy? Often if we don't, we end up repeating those patterns unconsciously in our intimate relationships.
And I think we discussed this before, we've touched on it before, but I think it's really quite important. I presume in your conversations with people, and you're focusing on them and, you know, fixing them to some extent, or fixing ourselves, there's a penny drops, you know, when is that how it works, that they're explaining to you the issues they have with people, and then maybe if you start talking about their childhood, there comes a point where that you make the connection that they really maybe didn't see before?
Absolutely. I'll always ask, who taught you that? Who taught you weren't worthy? Who taught you weren't lovable? And that always takes people on time travel. People time travel with that. Takes you back. You know, and that's...
Yeah, is it easy to fix that, Keeley? Because that's deep. If that's something you picked up as a child and you've carried through into adulthood and future relationships, that's ingrained, is it?
Absolutely. It's affected everything about your life. You're hardwired, your brain, how your brain works as well. These are neural pathways. The challenge is it's inner child work. So we're working on the inner child, because often our wounded inner child is still functioning in our adult life. So it's a bit like the DeLorean, you know, we go back so that we have because your future's not written.
Yeah. But do you get people that sort of, you know, have compartmentalized aspects of their lives, right? And they're not prepared to open that, to deal with to have a good relationship as an adult, because that's almost another piece of work altogether, isn't it? Because you're going back and dealing with something that they thought they buried, but it's still impacting on their lives as an adult.
Well, I always tell people, you can put them in Pandora's boxes, but unconsciously it's impacting on your behavior. That's why you keep going from bozo, user, loser, and abuser. So you can have them in Pandora's boxes, but it's leaking out in your present moment. So the thing you fear, the thing you don't want to deal with, it's already dealing with you. You know, so therefore having space and time to actually physically look at that is far more empowering, because it comes out of your shadows into your awareness, where you can now make choices. So you are now conscious that I go for people who are emotionally unavailable. So when you start a relationship, and if someone treats you that way, you're clear. This is my pattern.
And do you see difference in different cultures? And I'm not suggesting for a second that one particular, but we, you know, in different cultures we can be raised in different ways. You know, so you could have, I don't know, say my upbringing, but say I saw how my dad spoke to my mom or something, right? And that might affect me. But you could have, you know, maybe through, if they're very strict Catholics or something, you could have been, or different cultures or whatever it might be, you could be raised, you know, with an attitude as to your body, you know, you could be ashamed of your body, you have to hide your body, or so, like, does it have to be does that affect people? Or is it an event or something they see that affects people? It's a terribly clunky question, but we're all so different, you see, so all of these answers are kind of different, really, dependent on how you're brought up.
Absolutely. Culture matters, class matters. You know, these are all important topics that come up in the therapy room. And, you know, I let people know, you know, straight away from the bat, you know, I'm culturally competent. Doesn't mean I understand every single culture, not at all. But I'm dual heritage. I have a black parent and a white parent. I've also got parents from different parts of the social strata. That matters. This is what we bring into the therapy room, because this bears a massive weight on who we become, how we become, our aspirations, what's acceptable. You know, what part of the hemisphere you're from, what part of the world. Are you from a collective culture? Remember, collective cultures, generally Asian cultures, they don't do the I. It's all about we.
Yeah.
When you do a we culture, you just don't go off marrying who you fall in love with. It generally doesn't work like that, because families marry into each other's family. That has a particular bearing on people from that group. That represents psychological challenges for them that I'm attuned to, because You know, for example, if I say to a young Muslim woman who's from a family, you know, go and speak your truth, the reality is I could be putting her in a very risky situation.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
You know?
Understood. Right, so to some questions here now. This is coming in from a woman. They've been with their partner now for 5 or 6 years. They're fully committed to each other. She wants to get married. He's cool on the idea. And she seems to be wondering how to move things forward there.
So is she noticing? If someone's dragging their heels, that's always worthy of a conversation. If we avoid it and kind of hope that things will come good, we're doing ourselves a great disservice. It's better to name the unhelpful behavior and have the conversation. Otherwise, we go off in our head with our hopes, dreams, fantasies, and aspirations. And that's how we end up particularly hurt.
Yeah. But it could also be not that there's anything else going on, but people might have a view saying that, you know, I don't require going into an office or a church to declare that I'm going to be with you for the rest of my life. I'm happy to do it not doing that. And for the other person, that act of actually getting married could be, you know, the wax stamp on the relationship. That's just something they're going to have to come to. If that were the case, that's just something they're going to have to work out, is it?
But I guess what this comes down to is about values. And this is one of the biggest issue in relationships. Do you and that person have the same values? Is this something you can negotiate on? Can you compromise on? If you're from a strict religion and you want it in your special place of worship and somebody else is happy to have it down the registry office and go down the pub, that's already a conflict, you know? So, and especially if you've got different class, people from different class backgrounds, you know, this is why these are really important matters to have conversations about.
Yeah. My boyfriend is very close to a female work colleague. I noticed at night and on weekends he's constantly texting her. He says it's all work related. I don't want to be the jealous girlfriend. How do I handle this?
Well, explain how you feel about it. Explain how you feel. Let him know. But also take ownership for where that comes from. Where does your own insecurities come from around him having communications with somebody else? That way you're not dumping it, because often we can feel insecure, which is fine, but then we may not want to take responsibility for that. Like, what's triggered those insecurities? Have you had somebody else cheat on you? Do you think she's prettier than you? Do you think she's sexy than you? What are those insecurities?
But should anyone accept that, though, Keeley? It's not. I mean, would you have to have insecurities to think that? Look, that's not right. You know, if you can't discuss it enough during work time, you know.
There's no problem with having the insecurity. It's about having the conversation. You have the conversation, and then you've got to gauge where that person's at. If they're going to say to you, "Well, you need to get over yourself," and they're not prepared to take into consideration how you feel. Be mindful, because that might also be a blueprint for how they are in other situations when you're uncomfortable. What I'm encouraging you to do is to own it, speak about it, get feedback from that person. That feedback is gold, because that's where you'll learn whether they are sensitive or insensitive to what you're sharing. But also know that some insecurities we have to work on, because otherwise we just project it onto somebody else and don't necessarily check out what that's about. So I'm always a fan of doing the introspection, but also speaking about it to get the feedback.
I came out as gay at 19. I've had a number of on-off relationships since then. Now I'm not so sure. I'm 35 and I find myself wanting, you know, the full package of girlfriend, marriage and children. Is it possible?
Absolutely. You are entitled to change your mind at any old time. Now,
it's simple as that. It's simple as that, isn't it? I mean, you know,
life is simple, but we make it complex.
Do we say because we pigeonhole ourselves or what?
It can. The thing is, sometimes you know what you want, but you're worried about the consequences and what other people will think about you. You know, so if 1 minute you've been doing gay pride and so on and so forth, and then you take down your rainbow flags, and now you've decided you're moving away from that circle and you want to pursue something different, you're going to be concerned about what other people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
This might be about to thyself be true. You are entitled to change your mind at any time and be a heterosexual and have your rainbow flag as well, if you choose.
Can you go into, if this this man goes into a relationship with a woman, do they have the choice to do so without telling her of their past? Or do they have to?
I think that's a really tricky one. I feel like, I'm all for living in the now, but if somebody's keeping a significant part of their identity out of my awareness, I wouldn't be necessarily overly too pleased about that.
Yeah. And eventually it'll come out.
Yeah. And I want to make informed decisions that if I choose to go with somebody, I would appreciate if they are able to tell me so that I can make an informed decision.
I think it's in that category of really you need to be talking about that. That needs to be part of the New Deal.
Yeah, so somebody doesn't feel like they're being hoodwinked, but you can understand why, someone may not want to say because they may feel that there'll be discrimination and so on. And that's understandable.
But you'd want someone to love you for everything that you are or have been as well, too. I mean, that's what you'd want. You'd be worth waiting to get the person that you could have that conversation with and they're okay with, oh, that's fine, that's your life, that's what you did, but I love you nonetheless.
There you go.
Yeah, all right.
It's fundamental that we have the conversation. Like I said, I just want to make informed choices. I don't care if you were dressed up as Coco the Clown for 20 years and made a good living of it. Fair enough. But I would appreciate being informed.
I really don't like online dating. I prefer in-person dating. I've had so many letdowns, though, from it. Please, Keeley, offer some advice on what to do. I'm a male in my early 30s. So how do you meet the right person? It's putting yourself in the right place, isn't it?
I am much more of a fan of pursuing my interests and then meeting people along the journey. Become friends with people. Sometimes we get quite desperate, and desperation's never a good look and it seeps out. So whilst you're pursuing dating apps, there's plenty of adult education centers. What if you explored, if you liked IT, you went to an IT networking event or something like that, or you went back to adult college to study, photography. You're much more likely to meet other people who've got similar interests in those spaces, which could take the pressure off that whole kind of dating, meeting the one, which is often an illusion anyhow, because humans aren't perfect.
Okay. Last one, Keeley, please. My boyfriend wants to be able to lift my mobile phone at any time of the day and go through it. He says I'm very welcome to do it to his. I think, though, it's an invasion of my privacy. Despite living together, I think we are entitled to our own space. I don't think it's about trust. He says it's about openness. Am I wrong to refuse it? Of course you are. It's that private.
I think, are you wrong to refuse him? I think if we're doing right or wrong, I think it's about being mindful about how you are compromising your own wants, desires, what sits right with you. So it seems that there's something around it that doesn't sit right with you.
I don't want to amplify it, but is that not in some form or other coercive control? In that even though he's saying he doesn't believe she's doing anything, it's almost as if to say, well, I'll also make sure that you don't, and maybe I don't want you slagging me off to your friends either, for that matter. I mean, it's control, isn't it? It's not healthy, that, I don't think.
Absolutely. But remember, coercive controlling behavior always starts off, it's always guised as being something particularly good. The next thing you know, you don't know what shirt to put on, what earring to put on, because over time, they seep in and start to take over all aspects of your life. So it's something really important to pay attention to, because you're compromising yourself. At some level, you don't want to give him your phone. You don't want that kind of access, but you're giving it up. So that in some sense means, to some degree, you're selling yourself short. You're not honoring yourself. And if that is perpetual and happens in other aspects of your relationship, be careful. because this is the slow drip, drip, drip effect. Advocate for yourself, stand up for what you want, and then you're going to notice what happens. If you're disagreeable, notice what happens with your partner. You're getting a window of insight into that individual.
Okay. Brilliant stuff. Keeley Taverna, psychotherapist, author and coach. If people want to access you directly, Keeley, how do they do so?
Find me at keyforchange.com. That's number 4 or FOR. Keeley keyforchange.com.
You have it all covered. Listen, brilliant stuff. Thank you very much as always. Goodbye. All right, Keeley Taverna there, back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Easter mega deals now on at Curry's. Get the Sony Smart 4K TV now $749. Save €250 and save €100 on the 14-inch HP Chromebook now $289. We won't be beaten on price. Get in store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and like many autistic people, I am grateful for the work As I Am do. This weekend at SuperValue, please help As I Am give autistic people like me the same chance by donating €2 at the till. SuperValue, community includes everyone.
Is your business or farm having difficulty getting a loan or restructuring bank debt? The good news is there's something you can do about it. For over 10 years, Credit Review has helped Irish SMEs get the credit they need for their business by appealing unfavourable credit decisions. For more information, visit creditreview.ie. Credit where it's due. Credit Review is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Mick, a painter and decorator, recently visited his local Crown decorating centre, where he got an amazing deal and everything he needed to do his job better, which put a huge smile on his face. A smile that got noticed by a passing model scout. Mick's now the face of a global toothpaste brand called Brilliant White. Coincidence? We don't think so. You see, everything's better when you visit Crown Decorating Centres. It's not just paint, it's personal.
A massive spring bed sale is now on at Grove Furnishings, your local easy living store. For 1 week only, there's extra discounts on all beds and mattresses. There's 20% off all Sealy beds, along with Cirrus, Nimbus and Stratus mattresses. And there's free delivery to Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. That's right now at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny.
What's Santa's favourite colour? I don't know. Run next door and ask him.
Laws in Lapland? Could be. Get your ticket from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday the 8th of April to also be in with a chance to win one of our bonus cash prizes of €1,000.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Now we cross close to the Ukraine border where we speak to Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for facilitating this at short notice.
Right, no, you were on the Moldovan border yesterday, and we were talking earlier on about the amount of Ukrainians that we're hosting. Well, Moldova has taken in an awful lot of their neighbours, haven't they?
Yeah, there's a figure of ranging between 90,000 and 100,000, and when you consider Moldova as an economy, it'll be a poor country. Not in the European Union, has applied formally for European Union membership, but they're struggling big time in terms of resources. But they've opened their doors and their hearts to the Ukrainian people, and it's a very, very strong message of solidarity, and they're doing their best under the circumstances. Yeah,
their population has increased really quite significantly in a short amount of time. We're almost out of housing in this country. We have to come up with alternative solutions. Do you know what the Moldovans are doing to accommodate all these extra people?
Well, the plan is a short-term plan. A lot of households and individual households have signed up to facilitate and to accommodate individuals and individual families from Ukraine. But that plan is a 6 months plan. There's finance for that over the next 6 months, but that will become an issue in terms of support. But I think there will be a reach out for European Union support. In terms of our own country, I know a lot of people have signed up to the Red Cross, so that's part of the plan will need to be action, because there is a need there. But when you consider the likes of Romania now, with over 80,000 Ukrainian citizens here on a temporary basis, and 2.5 million in Poland, there's an enormous pressure. And the big feedback we got this morning from the Romanian-Ukrainian border at Siret is that there is a contingency plan for a further escalation of war, particularly looking at Odessa. And there is a genuine fear that with the further escalation of the war, that there will be more people coming, and that this is a major challenge that obviously the Ukrainian people at a personal level have faced, but also the European Union in terms of coordinating this.
Are you speaking or hearing any concern that Putin has intentions beyond Ukraine? And it doesn't have to be in the next month. It could be maybe in the next 4, 5, 10 years. But are you getting it? Is there space for that conversation? And if so, what are people saying to you?
Yeah, there's a different conversation in Moldova compared to Romania. So the conversation in Romania today is that there is a security because they're members of NATO, but the likes of Moldova isn't a member of NATO. They don't have any major security strength or resources as an economy. So there is a vulnerability there, very much so. So there's two different conversations going on, depending on whether the country is signed up to NATO or not.
You're on your way to Bucharest. For what purpose?
Well, I suppose we're here twofold. We're in Romania and Moldova to obviously to develop a better understanding, but we're here primarily to look at Moldova's accession to the European Union and their application. And we met with political leaders over the last couple of days in Moldova. So we're going to Bucharest this evening to show solidarity and to see also how they're working through their education and health system and dealing with over 80,000 refugees, and to see if there's any learnings there that we can bring back home. We know that we've signed up as a country to take in 500 vulnerable people from Moldova, and we're in touch with Minister Rodrigo Gorman to see where we're at in terms of facilitating and accommodating these vulnerable people. All
right, listen, thanks for your time this morning. That's Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh, Fine Gael Deputy from Donegal, of course. He is speaking to us there from the Ukrainian border.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Centra, we want to make your mornings extra special with our Inspired by Centra breakfast deal. Mix and match from succulent sausages, crispy rashers, award-winning corn-fed eggs and freshly squeezed orange juice. Any 3 for €6 until the 20th of April. Centra. Live every day.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre, or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creeslough.
Made to Measure Fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at Made to Measure Fireplaces and Granite Worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the Made to Measure showroom at Cashel, Creeslough, or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
You'll find all the best toys at Foy's Ballybofey. Discover great value on all the latest toys, ride-ons, bikes and Bear go-karts, with new deliveries arriving every week. Great offers on best-selling brands like Lego, Fisher-Price and Barbie. With new deliveries every week, you can get all the fun shipped to your door with free delivery on orders over €75. Shop local and find everything you need at Foy's Ballybuffet or shop online at toysatfoys.com.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny now has even longer opening hours. Try Kelly's Early Bird Breakfast, one of their great lunch specials, or a renowned Jake's Burger. Kelly's famous steak specials are available every Saturday from 3, with an 8-ounce succulent steak and all the trimmings for just €11. New extended opening hours now in Kelly's award-winning diner at Mountaintop Letterkenny. Check out Facebook for details.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. We're joined on it now by Una O'Hagan. You'll be familiar with the name, of course, former RTE News journalist. Una, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good to talk to you.
And you too as well. And we're speaking about your husband's new book, Colm Keane, who was a regular guest on this radio station, and indeed I've interviewed him a number of times. #1 bestseller, of course, and his book is Journey's End, The Truth About Life After Death. But Una, you're speaking about it because very sadly you lost your husband after 36 years together in January, and my deepest condolences to you. How are you yourself keeping, Una?
Doing okay. Actually, after 36 years, it kind of feels as if part of you has gone missing or something, like your right hand is gone or something. But it catches you unawares. I mean, I'm sitting here at the desk where we work together, and I just knocked over his glasses, and I thought, oh my goodness, he's not here anymore. It's those little reminders, or when you think, oh, I must tell Colm about that, and you
have to check yourself.
Yeah.
Did you talk about death much? And that sounds very dark, but I don't mean it like that.
No, I understand what you mean. Colm and I were kind of in a unique situation in the sense that we had lost our son from cancer in 2007. And not just following that, Colm always had a huge interest in the kind of near-death experience, and he wrote 4 books on it. And for people who don't know, the near-death experience is where somebody dies temporarily. They go through a tunnel, travel towards the light, meet relatives and friends who have passed, and come to a border or boundary and are told to go back. That's it in kind of a brief summary. Colm also had cancer 10 years ago, was given a 20% chance of living. So, yeah, we did talk about death quite a lot, not in a negative or pessimistic way, because actually Colm, in those earlier books and in this book, Journey's End, that he wanted to bring out but couldn't because he just ran out of time, his conclusion is that death is not to be feared, that it's not an end but an entirely new beginning. That requires a buy-in, though, doesn't it, that these near-death experiences give us an insight into the afterlife? Yeah, I think Colm was a journalist to his fingertips, and he wanted... If he was doing a story just like you'd go to the people who have experienced what you want to know about. You'd go to the eyewitnesses. You'd find out all the facts. And Colm did that. I mean, he talked to over 100 people himself. He read widely. There's a huge literature on the near-death experience. And in this book in particular, because he goes beyond that border or boundary, he wanted to know what happened after that, when you did cross the boundary. He read widely in terms of history, religion, all religions actually, and of course the science. So I don't think you need a buy-in. I think you need an open mind. Yeah, okay, I take your point. Una, before we talk about the book itself, obviously losing someone that you've been with for so long is incredibly difficult, and all the conversations or all the thoughts in your head, especially when they're aware that their time is short. Did all of his research and his knowledge make his passing a little bit easier for both of you? Oh, hugely. I mean,
it happened very quickly. That was the only thing, in a way, that took us by surprise. Colm, it was cancer that got him in the end. He was offered palliative treatment like chemotherapy and all that, and he said no. He said he didn't want that. He didn't want to. First thing he said was, I don't want to lose my hair and beard again. And he wanted to live his life as a real human being, you know, not stuck in that kind of medical system. But despite that, we wanted, how do I put it? He lived a real life and did everything, was working right up to the week before he died. But we were very aware that time was short. And that gave it a kind of a sad sweetness at the end. But no, he wasn't afraid. When he went into the palliative care consultant, the first thing he said was, I'm dying. And the second thing is, I want to die a peaceful death in tranquil surroundings. And he ended up being admitted to the Waterford Hospice and actually succeeded in having a very, very gentle passing, which was wonderful.
And before we talk about the book itself, Una, what is your individual or collective understanding with Colm as to his being around you, or where he is, or is that? I hope that's not a personal question.
Now,
Una.
or
now.
Yeah. Well, actually, it ties into the book in the sense that the conclusion that he came to was that, yes, we do survive, our consciousness survives, and we pass to a place like sort of heaven, if you want to call it heaven. It's not such a physical place, but it's a post-death reality where our consciousness creates that reality. So we're surrounded by the people that we love, and we create our own heaven or hell, you know, whichever place we end up in. But it's, I mean, I'm sure he's with our son Sean, and the amount of people who end up, when they've had this near-death experience, they do meet their relatives and friends. They're always happy to see us. We're always happy to see them. And you don't see people that you don't want to meet. You know, the bully in the playground who made your life a misery when you were a kid. You don't come across those kind of people. Your wishes and dreams are actually realised in this post-death consciousness.
I often wonder if, and this is a genuine question, by the way, that if you, say, for instance, had 3 long-term relationships, you know, I mean, if the consciousness after death, and you loved them all, and you had, you know, amicable, and for what maybe they died or whatever it might be, who would you actually end up with?
Now, that is a very intriguing question, and Colm actually had an answer to this.
Okay.
And
it's not the minefield then I was expecting. That's okay.
No. It is an issue. And there's a story in the Bible, in the New Testament, about a sort of a trick question, say, given to Jesus, for example. And I won't go into the details of it, but he said there is no marriage in heaven. And there are couples in heaven. If you want to be together, you will be together. But the key to it is your consciousness creates this reality and what you want. So whoever you want to be with, whoever you loved, you will be with.
Like, I mean, obviously, I think we all think about.
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
Contract.
Yes,
you know, there's not a marriage contract.
Yeah, we're confined to social norms here, and presumably don't. The one thing I could, you know, I think everyone thinks about what might happen next, and you know, it could be religious based or whatever it might be. The one thing I couldn't ever get my head around is your consciousness ceasing to exist, like pulling the cable out of a computer, the computer is off, and it can't. I personally could never imagine your consciousness stopping, like, because you know, your thought. How does your thought cease to be there any longer? Do you get?
Absolutely, and that's why you need to read Journey's End genuinely. Because there's a wonderful chapter, particularly at the end, that deals with the whole issue of consciousness, Colin brings in quantum mechanics, and like the biggest brains in the universe at the moment, they are pondering these questions. And there's an awful lot of scientists are coming up. They're trying to describe what happens, and they do believe that there are other universes, there are other realities. Unfortunately, language is a very kind of unwieldy way to describe this. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean about consciousness, and that chapter really covers it. But I know when I was with Colin when he was dying, and I mean, I held his hand. It was a privilege. I held his hand. I told him I loved him. I told him Sean loved him, that we'd had a wonderful time together, and he had a great legacy, but left behind him. But and it was a gentle passing, very slowing down until eventually he stopped breathing. But as soon as that happened, I knew Colin wasn't there. Something had departed. You know, that wasn't the Colin that I knew. I knew he was elsewhere.
With that in mind, Una, and again, this is the kind of a thing people have different views on. With all of your understanding, your conversations, do you feel the need? I don't know if he's buried in a grave, Una, but do you feel the need to visit that area, or do you? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I know. Funny, I think parallel with this as well is the human emotions where you have to grieve as well. Colin wanted to be cremated. He was very certain of that. One thing was he wanted the book brought out, and I promised I would do that. The other was that he wanted to be cremated. So his ashes will be buried with Sean. When Sean in particular died, because he was so young, because it was such an awful thing to happen, we went to his grave an awful lot. But then as you kind of you get better, if you know what I mean, or you process it more. You don't really need to go to the grave. I mean, I wasn't going to Sean's grave thinking that Sean was there.
Yeah.
But it was just a connection. It was just a place to be able to go to and think, you know.
Okay, in a lot of these questions, we kind of talked around about what is in the book. And now Caroline has it at the moment. She's going to finish it at the weekend. She's well through it and thinks it's brilliant. I just wonder, would this help for the people? There's a saying, I don't know who to attribute it to, but the anticipation of death is worse than death itself, that eat up an awful lot of their quality time alive, considering and worrying about death.
Yeah,
would a book like this, do you think, help for them to allow them to enjoy as much as they can their time on Earth?
Absolutely. And that's a very interesting question, because in a way we don't spend enough time thinking about death. We spend quite a lot of time fearing death, but not thinking about it. And this is one of the issues that Colin was very strong about, that you have to prepare for death. Because there is this thing called a life review, that people who have the near-death experience, they go through their life in reality, in real time, in a very short period of time. But you go through your life, and there's a judgment. This can be done in the presence of a superior being or God. But most of the time, it's just you yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, when I read this, I thought, that's great. I'll give myself a pass. I'll get into heaven, no problem. But the quirk in the whole thing is that you judge yourself through the eyes of the people whose actions you have impacted on.
Yeah, because I don't want to overstate my importance, but I don't fear me dying as such. It's the impact it would have on those around me. And as I say, I might be overstating my importance, but I suppose everybody is different. A caller asks, it's an interesting question, and I can understand why they might ask it. Do you think if you never knew your birth parents, would you meet them in the afterlife? I'd love to know this, as I've never met them in this life, and I cannot trace them. I've tried for years. So they want to know, in your opinion, and will they eventually meet them? And I think there's so much behind that question.
Yeah,
I think.
No, you've caught me on the hop. But I'll tell you what, I was just looking at a story from a woman called Sarah, who I think was from Donegal. And she had a near-death experience, and she was saying there were 3 old people were coming towards her. I didn't know them, and I'm reading from it now, and I couldn't say there were anybody in particular. They definitely weren't my grandparents because I knew them, unless this was the body they have in the next world. I wanted to go on to them as if they were long-lost relatives or ancestors or friends or something. So I think there is a genuine possibility. There are people, a number of people, who don't know in particular the person or the people who are coming towards them, but they know they're kin of their kind. So I think that there could be a real possibility of that, yeah.
There's people who feel that if there were an afterlife, there would be someone would have found a way to... Now, there's a lot of people believe they're visited by loved ones all the time, be it a robin. I've talked to people who a crisp paper blew past, during a funeral, and they believe that to be a message. So it depends on what you feel or what you view. But people might say, maybe the more cynical, if that's not too harsh a word, that if there were an afterlife, surely there would be some connection between this and that people would find a way to say, I told you I was right.
Yeah, again, I direct you to the last chapter in this, and the feeling, sometimes you get the feeling that that people are around, or that you might have done this before, you've been to this particular place before. There's scientific, I wouldn't say more than speculation, but kind of wondering, are there parallel universes? Does our consciousness tap into a universal consciousness? So there's all sorts of possibilities, but I wouldn't preclude a connection between here and there.
And even walking around on this planet, people, depending on their personality, can be oblivious to everything that's around them. So it depends on whether you're open or not. In this book, Purgatory is discussed, hell, reincarnation. An important question, do animals go to heaven for people? Meeting God and how we imagine heaven. And this is all based, just as we wrap up, Una, this is all based on conversations Colm had with people.
Oh, yeah. Well over 100 people that he interviewed himself, and then the wider literature. So, yeah, I mean, this took about 10, 11 years of research and a year and a half to write, so it's worth reading.
Una, hopefully everything is good with you going forward. You've suffered, not suffered, I don't know if that's the right word, but to lose your son, and it's so difficult, and then to lose your other half of 36 years and so recently as well. Thoughts with you and condolences if that's appropriate, and thank you so much. I just wish you nothing but happiness, Una.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay,
thank you. Good to talk to you.
You too. Una O'Hagan there. We're going to have a very quick wrap up. In fact, just time for the weather after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Tá éit a chudí rio le daine. Tá cuidú a tastal an Ukraine inis, agus an éitin faoi réir le foiilte mhór a chur a bhuitir na Ukraine, agus chun tacu láisin a chaithí fannacht in na nné. Tá agriachtaí main commerceidin héireann taca le chéile chun tacu le caranis in seo sáile agus na Ukraine. Jane do chuidinis ag irelandforukraine.ie.
Farmers may need environmental licence to keep stock. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal EU plans to introduce environmental permits on livestock farms. Suckler farmers most at risk from rising fertiliser costs. Why holding back €40 million in unspent bean money could lead to fodder shortages. Collioure prices treble to €300 a head. Orivo profits soar as we analyse the impact of Lakeland's lockdown on production.
Plus, get your free Easter food magazine inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. On sale now.
Aldi has everything to make this Easter extra special. Delicious 4-packs of That's Got My Name on It. Gronia's hot cross buns was 99 cent, now 49 cent. Bunches of, they're gorgeous. Tulips $4.99, in store April 14th. Award-winning, go on, why not? Toro Loco Superior red wine, $7.49. And 100% Board Bia quality assured. Get on my plate pronto. Irish full lamb leg, $8.99 per kilo. Aldi, the home of an amazing Easter. Get the facts be Drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny for their Garden Super Saturday series